I asked my viewers to anonymously send me some of their craziest confessions to read. And boy, did they bring the heat today. And of course, we're going to be playing some Minecraft while reading these. Starting off strong with the first confession titled, I've been living a double life for 4 years. I told my parents I was going to Michigan University and they were so proud. I even packed as if I was going. But instead, I moved to New Zealand. I don't know what compelled me to come, but it has been one of the best choices of my entire life. I found work with a small tourism company in Rotorua, taking people around the geothermal parks and Maori cultural sites. It wasn't pretty, but it felt genuine. My life changed drastically once again when I met Hannah. She was painting landscapes at a local market that seemed to come effortlessly onto the canvas. I wanted an excuse to talk to her, and I asked her to paint a picture I had saved on my phone. As she painted, we talked. Yet the conversation never seemed to end, and somehow that turned into a life. Roughly 2 years into dating, we went on a road trip where I proposed, and I got married by Lake Taupo. No guests, no announcements, just us and vows that made me love her more. Then Mia came along. She's just started walking, has Hannah's eyes, and a little laugh that makes everything in my life that tiny bit better. But all this time, my parents think I'm studying English in Michigan University. They send emails and call me and ask me about my professors I've met. I'm forced to respond with generic information and send pictures I find online. I've built a life they don't know exists. I don't know how to tell them. I don't even know if I want to, but I know that I should. Wow, this really is a 0 to 100 type of situation. I mean, you went from theoretically going to college to moving to a new country, starting a job, meeting the love of your life, and having a child with her, and your parents somehow don't know about this? That is quite crazy. Look, there really isn't an easy way to do this, but you should maybe go home and tell them. Because when was the last time you went home, right? When was the last time you saw your parents? You can either have a phone call with them or like a video call with them and show them everything that's going on, or you go home, tell them, and invite them to come to New Zealand and see what has happened. First things first, start by telling them that you're not going to university at all, okay? That is the first thing you need to do. And the next thing is, little by little, I guess, tell them, look, I've been working at this tourism company and I love it. Then I met this girl. Just do one by one and just rip the Band-Aid off. It's going to take a while for them to process this, but it's better than you not telling them at all, you know? Although I am curious to know, why did you not tell your parents about any of this? I mean, surely after the first year of you just being in New Zealand and having that job, you could have told them something, right? I would love to know your thought process behind this. If you could leave that in the comments below. I know, again, I've said that these are anonymous, but this is just too interesting, man. I would love to know more about this. And you know what? Leave a like on this video if you guys would like to know more about this as well, and I'll pin his comment. Good luck with that, man. I'm happy for you, too. Wow. The next one is called, I got rid of my dad's girlfriend. Okay. So my parents are divorced, have been for years. My mom has moved on and been with my now stepdad for around 10 years. And my dad has had a few partners over the years. I live with my mom and visit my dad for a weekend every 2 weeks. In 2022, he was dating a lady I'm going to call Assface. Assface, as the name supports, was an assface, period. They had been living together for a couple of weeks, like a month at most at this point. She was always trying to get us to do things like family photos and that sort of thing, probably with good intentions, but still kind of overstepping. Then one night, she was at my dad's place. Dad got up to go to the bathroom, and she looked me dead in the eyes and said, and I quote, "Do you think your mom does a good job parenting you?" End quote. And I was just like, yeah? She then said, quote, "I don't have any kids, you know. I'd like to call you my daughter, just like you'd probably call me mom," end quote. Hello? I loved and still do love my mom, so I was not taking that. This lady trying to say she's my mom to me. So the next time I was at my dad's, I made the most Mission Impossible plan ever. I made a fake WhatsApp account on my old iPad with a male name. Late that night, I stole her phone, added the fake account, and made a heap of texts back and forth, and then put her phone back. The next day, I texted her on my fake account saying, quote, "So we still meeting tonight, kitten?" End quote. Because the word kitten is hilarious to me. And my dad saw it, accused her of cheating, and they broke up. Mission accomplished. Bro, what the hell, man? That is insane. I have so many feelings for this. Number one, okay, I get that you didn't like this woman and that she was a problem, but you should have just said to your dad that she was doing that. We don't know if she deserved for this to happen to her, right? This is a very big invasion of privacy and a very big, just sneaky thing to do. That said, I cannot lie. This is quite impressive that you pulled this off, but also this is very sad, and you should... I honestly don't even know if you coming clean is going to do anything for this. I mean, that relationship is not going to be normal ever again, and you are probably going to get very, very heavily disciplined. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about this, but you shouldn't be meddling in your dad's, love life, man. That's, unless she's straight up abusing you or is just mean to you, and in which case, then say something to your dad first, and if I guess he's not listening, then do something, Anyway, good luck to you, I guess. You guys are ruthless today. The next one is called I Tried Voodoo. In elementary school, I used to be bullied by this one kid. When I went home for a break, I was so mad that I grabbed a doll and a needle and imagined the doll was him. I stabbed the doll repeatedly, but after a moment of clarity, I got scared that he actually died. When I got to school an hour later, I had so much anxiety because I felt like a murderer. When I got to school, I saw that he was still alive. I was relieved. When he saw me, though, he immediately called me fat again. There was no remorse to what I did anymore. Well, that's fair. That is pretty funny, though. Like, as a kid, sometimes you really don't know how things are going to turn out, if the higher powers and spirits are actually there or not there. Pretty interesting story. Thank you for sharing. This confession is titled, I Think I'm a Psychopath. I watch porn of animals and gore. I was introduced to porn at a young age, like 8 or 5. I watched every day practically, and as I got older, my curiosity grew. Then through a YouTube video, I found out what zoophilia was. I thought it was disgusting that people did that to animals, but I didn't fully understand how bad it was since I have autism, and it's hard to understand emotions. So I looked it up and watched the video, and for the first time, I felt a strong emotion of disgust, anger, and lust. So I seeked out more stuff that would give me a strong feeling like that, and soon I came across gore. The feeling of overwhelming anxiety and adrenaline from watching it is addictive. And I have a fantasy of hurting and killing people, also animals. But the thought of getting caught and going to prison, plus how they would feel if I did those things, is keeping me from doing any of it. I've told my mom and dad, but nothing has happened, plus my mom also watches gore. Okay, this is a concerning one for sure. I think you need to check yourself into therapy immediately. I think you need to find a psychiatrist, psychologist, or anything of that sort, and talk to them, because this is not a joke. I understand that you stumbled upon this at a very young age, but if you're having fantasies of hurting and killing people and animals, that is a clear problem, and you need to deal with it. Please, I don't know what your mom and dad are doing. They should be also making sure you go to therapy. So please ask them to do that. This is not a joke. Next one is, I don't really miss my dad even though he died. Okay, so some background is probably needed. My mom and dad got divorced when I was like 5, and even then, he didn't live with us, and both of my parents cheated on each other. So, my mom eventually filed for divorce. My father said that he was fine with me living with my mom full time, and he was also fine with paying child support and stuff, so after this, or even before, I only really saw him every month, sometimes every 2 weeks, but never really more than that. So when I was 13, he died. It was really hard, but not very different from usual. And I was used to not seeing him, and so I just couldn't miss something that was never really there. And at first I felt horrible about not missing him, but I learned to just accept the fact. And also, even though I don't really miss him, I still appreciate the time he did spend with me. Well, this does not seem like a crazy thing to me, okay? If you take it to the extreme, if you had a father that you never met once in your life, you're not going to miss him when you hear about him dying. You might feel some type of way that like, oh, damn, I never got to meet my father or something. But if he's absent your whole life, it's not going to be... You're not going to feel strongly towards him. Same way in a relationship. If you break up with someone, eventually the feelings fade. You're not going to continue to feel love for this person if you don't see them every day, if you're not around them every day. Like, your brain eventually does forget. Or it just becomes less close. So if you saw your dad every day, yeah, you probably would have felt a lot worse when he died. So just know that this is a very normal thing. You shouldn't feel bad about not missing someone who wasn't really in your life. But I appreciate you sharing that, and best of luck to you. This next confession is titled Losing Attraction. I've been with my girlfriend for about 2 years now, and about 6 months ago, I noticed she's been gaining weight. I try to help her when she asks for ways to slim down and lose weight, as I take my personal fitness very seriously. But she doesn't want to put in the work the right way to get to where she wants to be. She's always asking me if I still find her attractive, and I know I'm lying to her when I say yes. We haven't been intimate in 3 months, as I constantly make up excuses and try to avoid it. And it is clearly dampening the relationship. I've since developed a porn addiction and constantly fantasize over other women. I still love her for the person she is and the relationship we have, but I'm too afraid to tell her the truth, as I feel it will destroy her and our relationship. Any tips, Nico? Geez, man, this is a very rough thing because I know a lot of people are going to criticize this and say this is a very messed up thing to do and you should love her for who she is, not the way she looked. But the truth is, guys, we're attracted to people based on looks too, okay? Especially guys, okay? Like, guys are very visual creatures, and it's just kind of the way we're biologically wired, okay? This is not a thing we necessarily control, but it is very unfortunate. Look, there is a nice way to sort of bring this about, but if you're getting to the point where you're just fantasizing about other women, you either need to say something or you have to somehow make it seem like it's her idea to do healthier things, like push her towards a healthier lifestyle. You could also make it sound this way, where it's like, look, you're developing a lot of unhealthy habits, and I want to be with someone that has healthier habits. Like, we should start eating better. We should start working out together more or something. Like, just make it seem like it's a relationship thing. Make it seem like it's you both need to do this. Make it a thing of, look, this is what I need in my relationship. I want to be healthy. I want both me and my girlfriend to be healthy. And if this is not something she wants to commit to, if this is not something that is important to her, then this is past the point of you not being attracted to her. This is just a mismatch in general. All right. It makes sense for someone who's physically fit and goes to the gym all the time to also want to be with someone who's physically fit and goes to the gym. It's not like you're 400-pound Andy, based on what you're talking about, that just wants this girl to be the top 10 model. It's you're a person that works out and you want your partner to work out with you. The one thing I do want to say to you is definitely stop watching porn, okay? Because that, especially now, especially as you're losing attraction to your partner, will make it completely impossible to want to get intimate with her. Like, this is already an issue with people who have an addiction to porn, okay? Like, people who are addicted to this stuff. You hear stories all the time about how they can't, perform in the bedroom because they are so conditioned to the way they perform intimate acts by themselves to the point where they don't want to do anything with their partner. That's your first step. Cold turkey that. Just try and be gentle about this if you can. If you're finding that there's no real way to really talk about this in a most gentle way possible, just try to find your words and be honest about what you're feeling, okay? Don't straight up say, I think you're fat and ugly or anything, but you know what I mean? Like, just ease into this because it's not going to be an easy conversation if you have to have it in the more direct way, okay? And I'd love to know what you guys in the comments think about this one. I don't think I really would have the right answer for this no matter what. So let bro know. But best of luck to you, and I hope this helps. I masturbated in a kindergarten when I was 15. Come on, guys. Like, we need to start doing better than this. God damn it. I don't know if you're doing a second part, but when I was in the 9th grade, my school required me to do an internship. So I applied to a painting company. Everything was going fine, and our small group was tasked to paint the walls in the kindergarten. I was painting the basement specifically. My coworkers taught me how to prepare the walls and then left me alone down there to work on the task independently while they painted the kitchen walls. During that time, I was feeling quite, you know what hormones do to teenagers, so I did the thing, pulled my pants back up, and went back to working on finishing the basement. Just to make it clear, there were no children in the basement. It was pretty much only used for storage and laundry. I still don't like to tell people that I did this in a kindergarten, though. 3 out of 10 wouldn't do it again. I would hope that you wouldn't do it again. Okay, well, the only saving grace you have here is that you were 15 and you were also a child. That being said, oh, man, okay, I get it, bro. I get it. I remember hormones at that age. They're just raging all the time. You just sometimes just need to get one out. But you're at a workplace, my brother. Like, you're there to work. What if your bosses had come down to check in on you or, like, had forgotten something there and just, like, saw you pants down, just meat flute in hand, just smacking it while you're supposed to be painting a wall? Like, can you imagine? Can you just imagine catching that, like, seeing that and being the boss of this kid and just being like, what do I do with this? Like, what would you do with this? Even when I was in middle school, there were kids that were, strange and would just go in the corner of the classroom during recess and do it, or just, like, whip it out for no reason. It's just like, the kids are just strange like that, okay? At least you didn't traumatize any kindergartners, because you would have been thinking about that one for life. Anyway, next confession. This one is titled, Getting Too Friendly with My Pet. Okay. It is sadly that type of friendly that you were thinking of. This was during a time where I was not only very lonely emotionally, my friends weren't there for me at all, but I was also very touch-starved. So one night when I was horny, I wondered if the cat would have any interest in quote-unquote it. Don't worry, nothing was put inside anything, nor did I force the cat physically, but the cat did lick it because of the interesting smell. Okay, the interesting smell. What? Oh, okay, I'm gonna keep going. After just a minute, a huge sense of shame washed over me and I went away. To be honest, the cat couldn't have cared less, and it made me understand that cats and animals in general are much less bothered by bodies than humans are. It was no different from if I was really sweating on my arm or something. A cat probably would have licked that too unfazed. I want to state that it really wasn't hot, nor did I expect it to be. I just really wanted a connection. I'd like for this to be a cautionary tale. Animals don't reciprocate these feelings, they are not attracted to humans, let alone the fact that they literally can't give consent. Ultimately, the cat is fine, I cared for it greatly, but my intentions were not moral, and I still feel bad about this many years later. Alright, well, this is... I don't really know what to say to this. I genuinely do not know what to say to this, okay? Look, I feel like this should go without saying. Leave your animals alone when it comes to that part of your life, man. I'm just going to comment on the fact that you said that you wanted a connection, okay? Look, if you're that depraved of connection and touch-starved and all of that stuff, you need to go outside and talk to people and meet people. Leave your pets alone. The one thing you are right about is, yes, cats do not have the capacity to be attracted to humans. Neither does any other animal with an animal that's not part of its species. Now, that being said, you were clearly having a really bad time in your life, and you did something very, very unfortunate, to say the least, okay? Hopefully you don't repeat this. I really do hope, and I really do think you should seek therapy because of this incident. You might think you're okay, but I don't know, man. This is one of those things where I'm not exactly too sure on how much I can trust a mental state, right? I don't think I would trust my own mental state if that was a thing I did. So, best of luck to you. I hope you seek some therapy, and yeah, stay away from animals like that, okay? The next one is called Middle School Gym Teacher. Here we go again. While mentioning the elementary school gym teacher in your first confession video, it made me think back to a time in my life where I knew a guy who was an absolute weirdo, and the school board did nothing about him. In my middle school, I had a friend group, roughly 8 to 10 people, that would fluctuate through. We all shared a gym class, and throughout the year, I had noticed my gym teacher would talk about the girls in my class very inappropriately. He would constantly compliment them, and only them, and move them deliberately closer to his position. And eventually, one of them got incredibly freaked out about it and confided in one of my other friends. She had no chill and would yell to everyone that would listen about how this guy was a pedophile and how it was really weird to middle school teenagers. Eventually, the school board quote-unquote got involved, and all 10 people in my friend group were dragged into a school faculty room and told that if we said anything about it ever again, we would be expelled instantly, and we would have it on our permanent records for lying or something like that. Chuddy school. Yeah, that is very suspicious of that school. I mean, it sounds like they're just trying to cover up that it ever happened so it doesn't go more public. I'm assuming this guy still works there, which is quite unfortunate. I hope that something gets done about this eventually, but it doesn't sound like anything ever did. Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to know, but warn people in younger classes to stay away from that guy at the very least, and tell your parents, man. Your parents are there to protect you. If you tell them that your gym teacher is being a weirdo, they're going to do something about it. Hopefully, as your parents. Anyway, thanks for sharing. This confession is titled Scared of Thunder. When I was younger, I had a childhood guy best friend and developed feelings for him. One night we were calling and it started to rain and there was thunder. I decided to put on an act and acted terrified every time there was a sound of thunder to get comforted by him. Me and him only dated for like 1 or 2 months and broke up deciding that we were just better off as friends and realized we only platonically loved each other. The funny thing is that now I truly am scared of thunder and get genuine comfort from my now boyfriend. Huh. So you inadvertently cause yourself a phobia by convincing yourself that you had the phobia. And now it's a persisting thing in your life. So interestingly enough, you could theoretically convince yourself you're not scared of thunder and eventually it would go away. That is so interesting. The brain is such a powerful place and such a weird place. That's why people say to you like not to talk negatively about yourself all the time, because your brain starts to believe certain things, and we're all very guilty of that stuff. So I think I'm going to take that as a sign for my own life to like maybe not try and convince myself of certain things when times are bad, but thank you for sharing that. That is very interesting. This one is titled Crushing on Someone Who You Shouldn't Be Crushing On. I can't wait. This is going to be an Alabama special, isn't it? About 2 years ago, it was my first time seeing my uncle. What did I say? What did I say? What did I say, chat? Did I not just say this? He's my mom's half-brother. Since my grandparents were divorced a long time ago, my grandpa married another woman, and right now he has a son that I have a crush on. So your grandfather married another woman and had a kid with her. So this guy is related to you only through your grandfather. So this is technically like a cousin. Okay. Ever since I saw him, I can't get my mind off of him. I keep fantasizing about him, dreaming. I found out that I followed him on TT, is that TikTok, Twitter, whatever, a while ago before we even met. When he posted his face, I saw him and reached out to him, and I told him that we had met before in Thanksgiving. We've been chatty since I added him on his socials. I got so crazy since I met him. I couldn't sleep thinking of him. It's been 2 fucking years. What sucks is that he is my uncle. IRL, when we meet in special occasions, we would stare into each other's eyes, and you could tell we both feel the same way. I always find my heart jumping when I see his posts on IG. When I reply to his stories in IG and compliment him, he's trying to be flirty and responding back, but I always think this is wrong, so I change the subject. In reality, I would have flirted back, but I can't do anything about it, because if something started between us, it would end badly for the whole family. I need to get over this. Thanks, Nico, for always entertaining us with your videos. Listen, lass, I don't know what to tell you here, but... Okay. I'm going to say one thing in your favor here. Only one, okay? Because you guys are technically far enough apart in genetics, because it's like a half brother, half something with a grandparent, like you're a little bit far apart. So if you run the calculations, you will find that genetically, this is not the craziest thing in the world. Now, is it socially accepted? No. Is your family going to lose their minds if this happens? Probably yes. And in general, is it overall a bad idea to date someone who is related to you in that regard? Yes, absolutely. There's a reason that kings and queens from the 1500s started looking very, very deformed because they, well, kept it in the family a little too much, a little too purebred. So do with that as you will. I really don't know what to tell you. Don't have relations with family members. I think this should go without saying. Get over it. Find a different guy. There's so many thousands, millions of people in the world. Please just pick a different one for your own sake. I used to beat up puppies as a little kid. Oh man, what? Back when I was 6 or 7 years old, me and my friend, let's call him Jay, developed this interest in beating little puppies. I don't know why we did it. It was so fucking stupid. But I guess at the time, me and my friend didn't really understand that other animals actually felt pain and emotions. We used to think that they'll just get up and forget about it. Me and Jay did stop doing it, especially because I moved out of town and grew up and realized how fucked up what we did was. Even after the fact, it's been over 11 years and I still think about it and regret what I did. And I pray that those dogs are okay. Sorry for this being very lengthy. I've never told anyone about this before. Thanks for listening. Okay, well, listen, kids sometimes can be very mean. Kids sometimes do some crazy stuff. That being said, as long as you know that what you did is incredibly, incredibly wrong, then there's not really much you can do. I mean, you still have regret and you still think about what you did. So I don't really know what to say to you. I'm glad that you've since learned, and I'm glad that you have refrained from doing that. But that is very, very messed up indeed. This one is called I Cooked My Digital Footprint. So, 2022, 6th grade, the last year of my primary school, and I decided I was going to be the coolest person. Big mistake. See, my dad was a chill parent. Like almost not even a parent. My mom, however, was not strict, but was safe. Like monitor my devices and that stuff, and as a responsible parent does. I was at my dad's one weekend, and of course I had like everything a 6th grader shouldn't have. TikTok, Twitter, Discord, you name it. And at this time I was a TikTok user mostly because my dad didn't care what I did. I posted some TikToks, I thought they were cool at the time, and that's that. No harm done. Until 8th grade, one of my classmates said something about finding an old account they think was mine. At this point, I had forgotten all about it, until it was mentioned. I was so embarrassed and asked to go to the bathroom to get out of the class. No one mentioned it again for a while until I was at the shop alone and a 10th grader that worked there mentioned it. This is where it kind of set in that I was cooked. I don't know to this day if anyone else knows, not even my parents, I hope. People were making fun of me nonstop, like at recess in class, but I've always been a straight A student and good at school, so if I randomly mentioned bullying, it would be taken too seriously and people would investigate then to find out. So what I did, I asked to be homeschooled and it actually worked. Anyway, if you're planning to post on social media, think about it before you do because I can't log into that account and delete it, so it's there forever now. See, this is what I mean with parents, man. Parents really need to start monitoring their kids' stuff more. Especially, I mean, he did mention that his mom monitored his stuff, but the dad is an L dad, man. Like, no sixth grader should be on TikTok making TikToks. Like, sixth grade is like, I don't know, like 12 years old, 11 years old, right? So, like, I remember being 11 years old, and I remember I was playing Minecraft at the time. Like, I just started playing Minecraft. I think I was watching YouTube at the time, but even still, like, I think I was in a generation where we had just first started being exposed to the internet at that scale. Now that we really have ways to monitor kids and do all that stuff on the internet, I think parents need to do a better job of doing that. You shouldn't be buying your kids like tablets and everything, because you're gonna end up with an iPad kid who freaks out the moment the iPad isn't in front of him. And yeah, parent your children, people. And what this kid is saying is right. If you plan on posting something on social media, be careful, because if you lose those accounts, there is a forever digital footprint, and sometimes they can get ugly, like getting bullied. That being said, I hope you get the courage to go back to regular school if you'd like to do that. I mean, I get if you want to stay homeschooled, but, you know, it sucks the kids bullied you. But I think socially you will probably benefit more from going to an actual school than being homeschooled. So anyway, I don't know what your situation is now. Regardless, best of luck to you, and thanks for sharing. This one is titled, I Was a Dumb 7th Grader. When I was younger and in middle school, I had a crazy porn and hentai addiction that I'm disgusted of having. I used to watch porn a lot, and I would go on Rule 34 to look at hentai of my favorite characters from TV shows and movies that I liked. Mind you, I was a normal kid for the most part. I just hung around some weird kids once that had a bad influence on me. Well, one day in the 7th grade, I was texting this girl that I was into late at night. We were both flirting with one another and playing Truth or Dare. While we were texting, I was also looking at images on Rule 34. Now, I don't know how I managed this because this was so long ago, but I somehow managed to add one of the pics I looked at to my clipboard. While I was texting this girl, I was editing a message and accidentally hit paste and then send quickly before I had time to react. I was mortified to see this very lewd picture of a certain SW character sent to my crush. Craziest part is I genuinely think I still carried on having a conversation with her after lying about how I sent it or something and kept talking with her. No, I didn't end up ever dating her due to some other drama that happened between us later in 8th grade. Yes, I'm very embarrassed of this, so much so that I haven't even told my girlfriend of 4+ years about this story. She'd never let me live it down the mouth. Yeah, dude, the copy paste thing is such a rough thing. Like, you know, like when you have the Discord group chat or whatever, you know, you're DMing your one friend on Discord, you have the most heinous gifts in the world from, and you just have this collection of them, and you send them to one another once in a while. But then once in a while, you know, you're DMing somebody else, and you think you're DMing the same friend, or you just misclicked who you were DMing. Send that gift to the person that is clearly not the type of person to send it to, and then you're just sitting there like, holy shit, if this motherfucker read this, he's gonna think I'm absolutely crazy, and I should be put in a mental institution next to Ed Gein's head ass. So, trust me, man, we've all been there. We've all done some crazy stuff like that. That being said, sending hentai is really unfortunate, man. It's just, thanks for sharing. This one is titled, The Time I Found Out My Mom Slept with a Guy I Was Dating? Oh, this is great. Picture this. It's June, fresh start to the summer, birds chirping. My mom starts dating this guy who has a single friend. The single friend is in between me and my mom's age. A little older than I prefer, but he seems super nice. Is well off, and has his own successful business working on cars, the best in town. My mom was hardcore trying to set this up. We went on a few dates, had some fun nights, kissed, thank God nothing more. In August, my mom called me and said she saw him out on a date with someone I used to be friends with. So I ended things in a nice way because I know my old friend is actually crazy. I didn't want that mess. Well, just the other day, my mom was taking me to pick up my car from his shop, and after months, I caught her in a lie, which led to me finding out they have been sleeping together. My mom and car guy. I am sick. Am I wrong for being this upset? Okay, there's a lot of layers to this. So let's start with layer number 1. You going out with people that are between you and your mom's age that are kind of like friends with each other is a pretty interesting... It's a very strangely incestuous thing. Like, I don't think I've ever want to be introduced to a woman by my dad who's in like the age range that he could be dating her and I could be dating her. I don't think that, you know what I mean? This just this doesn't sit right in my head. Anyway, now as far as you being wrong for being upset, no, you're not wrong for being upset. First of all, was your mom lying about the fact that your friend was dating him so that she could sleep with him? Part 2, was your mom egging on the initial contact with this guy so she could also sleep with him after? Like, how deep does this conspiracy go? Because if it goes as far back as, oh, my mom really wanted him when I was dating him, so she made me date him for a little bit, even though she knew I wouldn't like him or something, like, that's where I'm, like, trying to figure out what your anger level should be. That said, your mom was lying to you about dating someone that you went out with. I don't know, man. I feel like that as a mom, that's kind of a shitty thing to do. Like, no disrespect, but your mom's kind of a bop for that one. I don't really know what to tell you. So, yeah, I think you should be mad about it. I think you should be mad that she lied about that. And I think that you should be mad that she, well, slept with someone that you dated. You know, usually this isn't an issue you have to run into in a mother-daughter relationship. But anyway, thank you for sharing that. This next one is titled, Am I a Bad Son/Brother? It's been around 8 months since my parents died, and to be truthful, I never really felt any type of grief from it. I just had no emotion, and I feel like I've bad son/brother since my family saw me at the funeral, as I was just sitting there with no real emotion on my face. And it was the same time when my grandfather died around 4 years ago, when I was 11. I'm living with my friend now, but he and his parents treat me like a kid that needs to be protected, like I could break at the smallest crack. That annoys me more than losing my parents. My elder sister, who is 19, is living at her boyfriend's, and every time I see her, she just breaks down crying, saying all sorts of stuff like, I'm sorry I can't be there for you and such. And seeing her cry that much doesn't really hurt me, it just makes me feel like a bad person, that I can't show such emotion since I never really cry at losing a person or a pet. As you can tell, in truth, I can't really remember the last time I cried. Damn, look man, first things first, I'm so terribly sorry for your loss. That is a very, I can't even imagine what processing that must be like. And clearly you're having struggles with it, so let me just say something. Listen, everyone processes grief differently, okay? You not crying is not 100% always like, oh, you should feel grief or this and that, and you're not displaying your emotions correctly. I, myself, don't always cry. Like, for example, I don't really cry in front of people. I very much avoid that. Like, I remember when my grandmother passed away, like, I was fine until I, like, started shaking people's hands and then them saying that they were sorry for my loss. But I was fine up until pretty much that point, right? I don't remember really crying too much during her funeral. Now, I know you're young and you don't fully get this right now. Maybe talk to whoever your current guardian is. If you feel like you should feel worse, maybe say, look, I don't feel this. Can you help me? If you need help, seek help is what I'm telling you. And don't feel embarrassed by it. Don't feel like you're wrong. Don't feel like you're at fault for this, okay? Best of luck to you, and thank you for sharing. This next one is titled, I Still Feel Bad for Her. Okay. When I was a kid, me, my brother, and my friend used to go around ringing random doorbells and doing some goofy stuff. Once I decided to give someone 5 pine cones when they opened the door. We did this a couple of times doing some other stuff, but when we rang an old lady's doorbell and while I was doing my usual nonsense, my friend decided that it was the perfect time to pull his wiener out. She started screaming at us and we ran for our lives. Bro, ain't no way you just flashed the poor old lady. I can't lie, that is kind of funny, but it's like, come on, man. Like, there's so many things you could have done. You don't have to score the poor lady for life, okay? Anyway, thank you for sharing. This next one is titled, This Was a Christian School. And already this is going to be something crazy. Okay, let me set the scene. I used to go to this Christian private school when I was in middle school, and the whole school had like 12 students, and it was in a church building. All the girls had to wear dresses that went at least right above the knee, and the boys had to wear collared shirts and khakis. I was eating lunch one time, and after I was done eating, I started walking to the bathroom, but I heard a weird noise from the broom closet. I opened the door out of curiosity, but I assumed it was a mouse because the building had mouse problems. I was very, very wrong. One of the boys, who was much, much older than me, he was like 18 and I was like 12, was in there butt naked on FaceTime with one of the very old female teachers. I slammed the door so fast and never brought it up with him. We never talked again, and I couldn't even make eye contact with him or the teacher. Looking back, I feel really bad for not reporting it to the other teachers or the police. Well then, look, man, don't feel bad about this. You were 12. You walked into something that was traumatizing, especially for a 12-year-old. I mean, this is not a normal thing to happen. So don't feel bad about not reporting it. That being said, this is crazy, okay? But you know what? it looks like we have a lot of teachers that just can't keep it in their pants. I think we need to restructure the education system. We need to get all the creepy teachers out, man. That's all I know. This one is titled, I pooped in a potato salad bowl at my grandma's house. All right. Me and my cousin were hanging out at my Sunday dinner. We go to my grandma's house every Sunday night, and we were talking about fertilizing a plant and growing a tomato plant or something. I told him that you can fertilize a plant with poop, so he gave me a bowl he found. I went to the back and popped a squat and pooped in it. I came back around, and we brought it inside to our family, and we said we had a dead lizard in it. They believed it, and they sent us outside to clean it, but they told us it was a potato salad bowl we use. Oh dear, me and my cousin's smile faded as we walked out back to wash it out. When we were cleaning it with a hose, my cousin's mom saw me and him plugging our noses. She came out and saw the poop, and it got in a lot of trouble. I hope this wisdom helps you in life, Niko. Yeah, listen, man, I don't know if I really needed the wisdom of that. I don't think I've ever considered pooping in a potato salad bowl. But especially not the one that you use to actually eat potato salad in. I don't know if I would use that again personally, but kids sometimes they your heart's in the right place, but not exactly the right execution. Maybe use actual fertilizer next time, and maybe a pot. But yeah, best of luck to you in your planting endeavors. Don't use your own poop next time. The next one is titled, I like to see people being hurt. Okay, dude. I don't know why or how, but I grew to like seeing people in physical pain. Not emotional because I think I'm a bit more empathetic to that. I like to collect clips of movies and media that shows fights, self-harm, torture, and the like. I don't go as far as actually going to weird sites that caters to that because I think a lot of that would be more for sexual pleasure. The pleasure I experience isn't sexual at all. I'm actually asexual, but rather like a warm feeling in my chest. I like to rewatch my collected clips over and over again until watching it doesn't give me the warm feeling anymore. This relationship with seeing others experiencing pain may have affected me a bit, I'm not gonna lie. My intrusive thoughts are very violent and have gotten more frequent over the years. I don't actually hurt my peers IRL, but I do like to hit my dog sometimes. It's great because he can't speak and low-key can't differentiate aggressive petting and physical harm, Lamau. That is not funny, bro. Like, what? My friends would say that I'm very physical and I do roughhouse a lot. I plan on trying to learn how to restrain myself from actually hurting them because the other day, I accidentally yanked out the necklace from one of my friends and broke it while I was joking with him. That kind of made me realize that I might be unintentionally abusive in the future. So yeah, I really like the warm feeling from seeing people hurt, but I don't want to be the one to hurt them. I want to keep this guilty pleasure to myself and learn how to restrain my strange, violent tendencies so it doesn't ruin my IRL relationships. Okay, man, look, this is a slippery slope you're on. If you're starting to, hit your dog and you're starting to get super violent in real life, this is past intrusive thoughts, okay? We all have intrusive thoughts. I've had intrusive thoughts of hurting people, usually people I don't like, not because I get a warm feeling in my chest, but this is something you need to go see a therapist for. I don't know how old you are, I don't know what the full context of this is, but you need to tell someone. As much as you want to keep this to yourself, this could turn into something really bad one day. You might actually really hurt someone because the more you see stuff, the more desensitized you're going to get, and you're going to look for ways to get that warm feeling in your chest again that videos no longer satisfy, okay? Please, if you don't tell, say, a parent, if you don't tell, a friend, tell a licensed professional, okay? Therapy. I think a lot of the consensus today is that a lot of you people need therapy. See a psychiatrist, something of the sort, okay? And you especially. This goes without saying, but stop beating your dog and don't get physical with your friends. That, I don't care how appealing it is to you. Check yourself before you wreck yourself or wreck somebody else, please. See a therapist. This next one is titled, I Burnt My Ass. My cousins have a house way out in the backwoods with a huge 10-acre yard and an even bigger surrounding property. We were zooming around the yard playing cops and robbers on their go-karts when me and my cousin managed to make the other one pull over. I was going to play it cool, so I leaned against the frame of the go-kart and instantly got my ass burnt because I touched the engine. I was wearing super short shorts, so I hardly had any protection, and because it was my ass, I couldn't see how bad it was. My cousins looked worried and said it didn't look good, but I just brushed them off because it just felt like a sunburn. We decided to just go in the house to keep playing, and later we stole their parents' burn cream because the sunburn itchiness was annoying me. I mentioned it to my mom the next morning just as we were leaving as a, oh, by the way, and it turns out I had a 3rd-degree burn, lol. It looked like something between a tire track and an upside-down sombrero. We treated it pretty well, so it healed up completely with no issues. It didn't even leave me a cool sombrero scar. Sad face. You wanted a sombrero scar? Really? This was what bothered you from this? Not that you could have had severe nerve damage because of this? Yeah, I mean, there's not much I can say to you, man. Just stay off the goddamn engine, okay? And thanks for sharing. This confession is titled Mrs. Brown. Okay, so I had this teacher in high school that was low-key bad as hell. After I was 18 and out of school, we ended up meeting on a dating app. Okay, finally, this is at least legal. Oh, wait a minute. She was married. I knew that, but I had to check it out. On her profile, she had pictures of her in bikinis and stuff. You know, normal dating app stuff. I started messaging her, and she was getting super sexual. She was 40-something, by the way. I ignored her and found her husband's account on Facebook and sent him the screenshots of it all. He said he knew and was planning on cutting her brake lines on her car out of spite. I immediately called the police and reported him. Also turns out she was a prostitute while being a teacher and having a husband. Okay, round of applause for this guy, bro, because not only did you expose infidelity, but you also saved someone from being literally murdered and saved someone from going to jail for committing a murder. I mean, I guess he's going to jail for, intent to commit murder, but it's better than having actually done it. So this is a very good ending to this story, even though it started out being the usual creepy teacher story. This one is titled Getting Rabies in Kids Camp. I was an intern in a kid camp in summer, helping with daily activities, etc. 2 days before the kid camp ended, we did a scary night show for the kids, which resulted in catastrophe. I was tasked to hide behind some bushes and jump scare the children when they came by. When 2 girls were coming, I prepared myself, and when I wanted to jump scare them, a squirrel landed on me and started scratching me and biting me. Of course I panicked and screamed, but the squirrel then left. The girls pissed themselves when they heard me. I didn't care about it as much as I should have. However, I kept scaring kids until each and every one of them passed in the night trail. When I met up with my friends and colleagues, they said those scars didn't look good, and I should check with the nurse, which I replied with, "Nah, I'm good, bro." But they forced me to go there. When the nurse saw me, her skin went pale, and immediately called an ambulance. In the hospital, they did a variety of tests on me, and after a while came a doctor explaining I was attacked by a squirrel that had rabies. My face went blank as I felt nervousness and a small adrenaline hormones kick in, and the only word I could say was, "Cool." I'm not nonchalant or anything, I was just surprised. I was treated in the hospital and everything is fine now. Hope you're having a nice day. Dude, that's like one of the most irrational fears I think I have in general. When when did I find out about rabies, really? Like, I just knew that it was a thing, that rabid dogs exist, and you shouldn't really just go in the wild and petting wild animals because they could bite you and have rabies. And I was like, okay, cool, it's just another disease. And one day I just randomly discovered that rabies is 100% fatal the moment the symptoms start showing up. So, yeah, I now think twice before petting random dogs and cats that I see in the street or anything. So yeah, if there's a lesson here, don't go interacting with wild animals that look like they want to bite you really badly, are scared of water, and are foaming at the mouth. This story is titled Bringe. What? When I was with my 3 friends, we went to the bridge. Oh, bridge. And there were 3 cars going under it. So we decided why not spit on one car. So we waited when a car came and all 3 of us spat on it. And when the car stopped, there were 2 old people there and they shouted at us, "What idiots, come clean my car now." And then we go down the bridge and we clean the car and we never told our parents. Okay, that's not that scary, but for, I'm assuming, teenagers at that point, if 2 older people start screaming at you because you spat in their car, you're going to think that you're in big trouble. So that's pretty funny though. Frogging or schizophrenia? What the absolute cluster? Frogging is the act of secretly living in another person's home. Okay, never heard of that one before. Hello, for the past couple of days, I have become convinced that someone is living in my house without me knowing it. Has just been small stuff. We have a little American flag that hangs on the wall. I came home from work and the flag was still on the wall, but higher than when I left. Sometimes if you walk past it, it will fall. It looked like someone had put it back after it fell. There was also a black spot, about the size of someone's finger, on the bathroom window. The window is broken, and can be opened even when it's locked. But it would be pretty much impossible to climb through because there's a giant rose bush in front of it. For the past couple of days, I have woken up at random times during the night, but I can't hear anything, as in hear a person. To my knowledge, we don't have any history of schizophrenia in my family, mostly ADHD from my dad's side, and what I expect is some type of emotional disorders. Bipolar, ? Something like that. From my mom's side, I genuinely have no idea what to do or how to bring it up without looking fucking crazy. Exhibit A, stop self-diagnosing because you have no idea what this could be if you actually have a problem. That being said, the flag being in a slightly different place than you left it, you might just be imagining, you might not be imagining. The black spot on the bathroom window, that's a little bit less easy to imagine, I think. But could also be something as simple as bird poop. From what it sounds like, the easiest way to figure this out is set up a camera or something and record it for like a day while you're away or something. Or talk to a therapist and have this discussion with them. Maybe you need to actually see someone for it. Or maybe there is someone in your house and that is a slightly bigger problem, but that's a little bit harder to prove usually. Yeah, I don't know, man. I would say film, then talk to a therapist, then go to worst case scenario. But best of luck to you. This one is titled Third Party. One night, my best friend and I were bored and decided to explore an abandoned building. After some searching, we found this massive old factory that looked like it had been inactive for decades. It was almost 1 a.m. when we climbed inside and started exploring. The first room we entered was huge, filled with piles of rubbish and, strangely, clothes. There were so many torn, dirty clothes scattered everywhere that you could barely see the ground. We both thought it was weird, but decided to keep going. We found a way deeper into the factory through a long, wide hallway with only a few doors on each side. Every room we checked was completely empty except for more clothes covering the floor. Eventually, we reached the end of the hallway and came across a heavy metal door. It led into 2 separate corridors. After debating for a while, we decided to split up and meet again if one of the paths was a dead end. So I went down my hallway alone with my flashlight. Not long after, I started feeling this strange coldness. It's so hard to describe, but it made me feel like something was off. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I jumped, spun around, and pointed my flashlight. It was just my friend. I let out a sigh of relief, but something about him looked off. His expression was strange, like he wasn't really looking at me. Before I could say anything, I heard more footsteps coming from the other end of the hallway, the way I had been heading. I told him to follow me to the corner so we could confront whatever it was together. Yeah, I know, bad idea. I leaned against the corner with my friend standing behind me as the footsteps got closer. Just as I was about to peek around the corner, I heard my friend's voice calling my name from the direction of the footsteps. My stomach dropped. I stepped out to look, and there he was, my real friend, waving at me from the entrance of the hallway. My whole body froze. My legs felt heavy, and my heart was pounding so loud it almost drowned everything else out. When I finally forced myself to turn around, there was nothing there. Whatever it was had disappeared. My friend asked what happened, but I didn't say a word. I just told him we needed to leave now. We didn't talk about it until we got home. That is actually pretty scary because this is a really good description, first of all. You should be a storyteller. You know what it is about some of these? Like, I also used to be like an abandoned building exploration type and kind of still am. It's really fun, but at the same time, like, doing it at night is the stupidest thing you can ever do because you don't know who could be in those buildings. There could be a homeless person in there. There could be some sort of drug addict. There could be just some other crazy person doing some other activities that he's not supposed to be doing. But yeah, to have someone behind you, whether you hallucinated that or not, is that looks like your friend, and then discovering that it's not your friend is not. I personally wouldn't go back to exploring anything ever again either. I don't know about you. But yeah, I'm glad you made it out safe, and if you did ever figure out what that was, let us know in the comments below. This one is titled, I think I may have broken my cat's hip. Okay, so this was years ago. I would have been around 8, and I may be misremembering details of it, so bear with me. One day, I was outside of my house's deck. It was quite elevated off the ground on one side, as the house was on the hill, and I remember thinking about cats' innate ability to land on their feet. I already know where this is going. You can imagine where I'm going with it. This guy predicted it. You can imagine where I'm going with this. I got my cat, and not once, not twice, but at the minimum 3 times, dropped him off a high no shorter than 1 story, probably a little over, and even had him upside down and watched him go down. For those that don't understand what story means here, it means like a floor of a building. I felt awful about it after having a moment of clarity, and I tried my best to apologize for him, but he was understandably petrified of me. That same cat turned up with a broken hip. I can't remember the exact timeline, hence my note at the beginning, but if it was close enough, then I'm pretty sure I'm responsible for that. I never made a connection at the time, which leads me to believe maybe he didn't actually face injury at that moment. But the fact that I did in the first place and the possibility that I caused his injury haunted me until the day he died, about a year ago. He apparently walked funny. I never told my family what I did. Yeah, honestly, that's pretty sad. That is a very sad thing to do. Dude, kids are just ruthless. Like, the curiosity of, like, will this happen or will that happen sometimes gets the better of you. Like, the intrusive thought wins more often than not. That's why humans are known to have committed so many atrocities in their existence. But yeah, let's keep it at that and not commit any more very harmful things to animals, shall we? But hey, you're not happy about it. You feel guilty for it. So as long as you learned your lesson. This one is titled, I have a craving question that if I killed someone, would it affect me? Okay, this is the level up. I don't know how to word this because I've never told anyone this, not even my closest of friends or my closest family members. For the past few years, I've been wondering what it would be like to kill somebody, more specifically a bad person. I want to also first start by saying I don't want to kill innocent people. I question how my psychological health and physical health would react or be. What would it smell like? The gore. Sometimes I even wonder if I would laugh at them. Or just laughing at dead things in TV shows and real life. I've even had dreams of me doing said acts. Majority torturing bad people, laughing and having extreme joy. I don't want to get into crave details because I don't want to get your video demonetized. For the past few years, I've been wondering would this affect me, and if so, how? I'm currently trying to join the military, hoping to go into combat and try and see what it's like. I wish I could have an excuse as to why I crave this, but I just don't. I want to tell my family and everybody the truth, but I don't know how. You know what? This is not the first version of this I've read in these stories. First things first, you have to understand that this is something that you should consider talking to a licensed professional about. A psychiatrist, psychologist, anything of the sort. Because this has the potential to become very real. As you're saying, you want to go into the military in order to see what killing is like. And potentially torturing, okay? This is not a normal thought for someone to have. Like, we can all be honest here. We've all thought of probably killing someone or hurting someone that we don't like at some point in our lives. But this is a very specific, detailed extent of curiosity that, again, has led to many Netflix documentaries about people doing very bad things. It always starts like this. So, I would tell your parents, I would tell a therapist, I would tell any of the sorts, just don't tell your parents to get you a therapist, right? This is a conversation that needs to happen, and very quickly at that. Do not let this go unchecked because you might find yourself doing something that you really don't want to do. So good luck and don't kill anyone. This one is titled Gatorade Pisser. Oh, God. Saw a bottle of Gatorade placed on a urinal in the school bathroom. Half full. Pissed in it. Really couldn't tell you why. Just thought, fuck it, why not? Put it in my bag for shits and giggles. Kid saw it during lunch and asked for a sip. I gave him the whole bottle and left. Never saw him again. Oh, brother. Like, this is one of those NPC moments. I can't even be, that's not really a horrifying story, but it's just kind of funny. Like, I feel like some people wish they had the balls to do something like that. When you say never saw him again, do you mean like that rest of the day or just straight up bro never showed up at school again? Because this is... That is kind of insane. Please let me know if there's an update to him figuring that out. This one is called I've been dating my cousin for almost 2 years now. Okay, I need to get a sound effect for the amount of incest that we have in these videos, but okay. Okay, so first thing I want to say is technically we're second cousins if that makes this any better. No, it doesn't make it any better because when you start using the word technically around anything with incest, it's usually not what you're saying it is, okay? About 2 years ago, my cousin wanted to take me to his family vacation house to celebrate my 18th birthday. We're both gay and often bonded over that because living in a small town, you don't meet many others like us. While we were watching a movie, the time felt right and we started kissing. That eventually led to more than that happening. We now live together in an apartment as roommates, and we tell our family that we feel more like brothers because we're so close. For obvious reasons, we never told them what's actually going on. I constantly wonder if I should tell our family, but he remains very against it, and I understand why. I'm just so confused on what to do now. Okay, so there's the only one saving grace here, is that if you guys are gay, that means you have the same hardware downstairs. That means you cannot create new life. So therefore, you don't have that problem, which is usually the biggest problem here.
on the other side of that coin, second cousins is not the worst thing. It's not illegal. It's not, I mean, people are going to find out eventually. You may as well tell them sooner than later. Or keep it a secret forever and just have that anxiety looming over you. Both work, but I would just out with it. Because again, there's nothing really that's going to happen. Like I said, you're not going to have a kid together, at least not a biological one. So, do you guys do you, man, if it works for you. This one is titled, "You Must Not Try This," in capital letters. Okay, so me and my friend were 15-year-old high school students and addicted to creepy videos like ghosts caught on CCTV cameras. I think we have watched at least 400 plus of those videos. However, we made the worst decision of doing something crazy and terrifying out of curiosity, or I think hormones. We decided to investigate an abandoned apartment. So 3 to 4 kilometers away from our locality, there was an abandoned apartment. It was not even completed. It was left in the middle of its construction due to some legal issues. I don't know. Me and my friend decided to visit that apartment and started preparing for it. On a Saturday evening at 6:45 p.m., we met at the parking area of our society with 2 baseball bats and a phone. We arrived at that building and entered it. The floor was messed up with moisture, plants, and algae. Also, I think that apartment was now used as a garbage disposal area. We explored the building, but didn't find anything crazy. However, when we entered the basement, it was cleaner than the other parts of the apartment. I mean, way too cleaner. Also, we witnessed our death sitting in front of us. There was a 30 to 35-year-old man, or a beggar, or a robber, or a criminal. He watched us and ran behind us. I think on that day we were taught a lesson by God. He chased us out of the building. I took my phone and called the police. Police arrived by the time we were home. However, we informed the police and they investigated the building and caught the man and arrested him. I don't know what they did with him, but yes, we were both slapped by our respective fathers. This thing happened in 2010, I guess, because after that, all these YouTube videos of abandoned buildings exploration became popular. I think we're the first ones to experience these things. However, one day I asked about that person from my father. He told me that he was freed by the police and was not a criminal. He was just a homeless guy. Yeah, once again, I mentioned this earlier in a different story. Abandoned buildings are dangerous for more than one reason. People roam them, homeless people, people that are doing nefarious acts. The buildings are unstable, crumbling even. There could be mysterious gases to inhale. Just not a great idea to go exploring them, but people do it anyway. So just be very careful. This one is titled, "I Almost Got Shot in the Face When I Was 7. Wow. Okay. When I was little, we had just recently moved into a new house. We were very poor after this new house because of bad planning, but long story short, I'd have to be at my dad's house half of the time and at my mom's the other half because of financial issues. But a wrench was thrown in when my dad got evicted. Instead of going to my dad's house, I had to live at my grandma's apartment. And long story short, she was ruthlessly addicted to hard drugs and used to put meth in her coffee, even when I was there. One day she had someone over. In retrospect, it was probably a drug dealer, and he was crazy. When my grandma had to go to the bathroom, he pulled out his gun and pointed it at my face. He pretended to pull the trigger and then started talking about gun safety, and he took out the mag, emptied the chamber, and then actually pulled the trigger, talking about how the gun is loaded and such. Later on, my grandma and my mom got in a domestic dispute when my grandma wouldn't let us leave her apartment and then got in a fist fight. And the aftermath was her freaking out and moving all the way to Wisconsin. 7 years later, she's back in town and mooches off my uncle for a living. Alright, so almost getting shot by a drug dealer might have to be one of the scariest ones, if not the scariest one on this list so far, and honestly, I don't think anyone's going to be able to top it. That is insane. This obviously is not a very healthy family and living situation. I'm very sorry that you had to go through that. That is quite terrifying. I don't even know how I would react. Like, as a 7-year-old, do you even really understand the concept of being shot and killed? Like, I really don't even remember. Like, what is a 7-year-old brain going to do with that information? I'm sure it's scary, no matter what. I guess if you've seen any sort of movie with violence and guns in it, you understand the concept of death and being shot to death. So that can't be good. But I'm glad you didn't get shot in the face by a drug dealer at 7. Yeah. This one is titled, "My Middle School Teacher Did It With My Friends." Yes, another school teacher that needs to not be a school teacher. I'm not kidding. This is true. There was an extremely weird teacher in our school that would be so weird to the students in our class. She would just touch the males in class so weirdly, like slide her hand down the students to their chest. Literally a couple of days later, my boy told me what happened with the teacher. The teacher mainly forced him into it, but he of course got some benefits, A+. Once again, to prove I'm not lying, search up Chelsea Jane Edwards. This will take you to the case on her. Let's look up Chelsea Jane Edwards. A female teacher previously facing trial accused of grooming a 15-year-old male student for sexual abuse I said all charges against her dropped, of course. You know what? I wonder how this would have gone if it was the opposite direction. Also, why do they never show the picture of these people? This is her, like, college graduation photo. Dude, whenever women do anything inappropriate towards underage boys, this kind of seems to be the case. But, oh well. In any case, I'm sorry that happened to your friend, and that is pretty scary to think about. This one is titled, Befriending Obsessed Viewers Backfired Horribly. Okay, I'm going to assume this is a content creator. Hello, Nico. When I started my YouTube channel at age 13, I really wanted to be seen and wanted attention. Every new subscriber and person rooting for me meant the world to me, and I was really proud of my, back then, high-quality content I still tirelessly make to this day. This resulted in many people wanting to see who I really am, and not having anything else to do, I decided to make a Discord server, reaching out to and befriending every single one of my viewers. Many years later now, this is not possible anymore, looking at the amount of people. But this led to some very terrifying stories in the past. For example, when I was 16, there was this girl, one of my viewers, who was really obsessed with me. The entire thing turned into a parasocial relationship quickly, like in many other cases, because individual viewers often think they mean something special to me, just because I respond to them. Even though I was just responding to everybody, which already then was taking up a big part of my day. I was some kind of an idol to her, and she decided she wants to spend as much time with me as possible. Therefore, she started sending death threats to my best friend, believing that if she was able to somehow kill him, she would be able to spend all the time in the world with me. Just me. This situation turned even worse with details I don't want to touch on. But just know she was asking for very specific pictures, and this way betraying her boyfriend she almost stopped talking to, all because of me and my friend. I immediately cut contact with her to this day after finding out. If you're interested in any more detail, feel free to ask and I'll fill in the next Google form under the next video too. But so far, this is the most terrifying thing that's happened to me as a creator. Really hope that she grows up and maybe in a few years, I can talk to her about the whole thing. Okay, so here, I'm going to say this very plainly and politely. To anyone who watches YouTubers and is obsessed with some sort of creator, it doesn't even have to be a YouTuber. It could be a YouTuber, it could be an actor, it could be anyone that you're crushing on that has some sort of social status or fame. You are not their friend, okay? Unless specifically, directly indicated through this person, you're not their friend. They're not your buddy. To everyone watching this video, I don't know you just because I read your stories. You don't know me from what you see online. I only show a very specific version of myself online, and then there's a whole version of myself offline that you guys don't know. Whether or not they overlap is a completely different story. YouTubers are not your friends, okay? They are entertainers. That is first and foremost. Some YouTubers are more real with their audience and with themselves. I like to believe I'm one of those people. And then there are others that are just straight up, like the moment the cameras are off, they're completely different people. It is very unhealthy to do stuff like this. And to any other fellow content creators, if you let your viewers in, be very careful, because you give people an inch, they take a mile. It's just kind of how the cookie crumbles with that. And I've also had to learn this lesson. You know, everyone kind of goes through that sort of thing. Luckily with me, I've been lucky. I haven't had any sort of like stalker situations or anything completely parasocial happen. But especially with the whole life advice thing, people do sort of go into that direction. I'm going to say this for everyone right now. I am not your friend, okay? I'm just an internet guy. I do not exist the moment you turn off your monitor. I do not exist the moment you turn off your computer. So let that be known. So regardless, as a content creator, yes, interact with your fans. They're your fans, okay? That's fine. But make sure you set boundaries and make sure you stick to them, because the lines are blurred and you then end up like, well, unfortunately, a lot of other Minecraft YouTubers. Honestly, dude, I'm curious. I'm curious of how big of a channel you had when this happened. So I would like to know more in the comments, but you're probably too high of profile of a person to have this conversation. So if you're down, send me an email. I'm very curious to know more if you would like. This one is titled, I Caused a Kid to Go Missing. Back when I was young, my parents sent me to summer camp. I met these kids there that I became friends with. One day, we wanted to know what was beyond the fence blocking kids from going into the woods. I was too scared to do it, so I dared a kid in our group to do it. And he agreed. We waited until the counselors weren't looking, and he climbed the fence. The fence wasn't see-through, so we could only talk to him. He described what he saw, and he wandered further into the woods. Eventually, we couldn't hear anything from him, and we got scared. We came up with a story and told the counselors, who took a look themselves. Eventually, the police showed up, and they also couldn't find him. I don't remember much else after that, but I'm guessing the police searched for a few days. I never told anyone I had dared him to do it, and I don't think they ever found the kid. Dude, that is You know what the messed up thing about that is? He might be fine, but you have no idea. So that's like just a thing that just sits with you. Because on one hand, you know what it is? It's not like it's your fault. This kid did that himself. It's not like you guys forced him. You dared him, sure, kind of a peer pressure thing. But it's like, it's just an unfortunate situation because 9 times out of 10, the kid is probably coming back. But that is terrifying to think about. Like, it really easily could have been you that disappeared that day and never came back from that. Kids, if you're gonna do stuff like climb over fences that there's no visibility for or anything of the sort, don't. Or if you do, take your friends with you because at the very least, it's strength in numbers, you know? This one is titled, I Got Stabbed in the Chest by My Best Friend. So this was around January of 2018. I was about 13, give or take. Me and my best friend, she was a girl, I'm still a dude, we're trying to reenact that one scene from The Punisher. And sadly, it got a bit too realistic. If you remember the scene, Kevin Nash was accidentally stabbed by Thomas Jane when he forgot to swap a real knife out for a prop one. So what happened was I was trying to be Kevin, and she was trying to be Thomas Jane. We were really stupid, as the title says, and you can probably tell what happened next. I got stabbed in the left lung and it collapsed. Luckily, I made a full recovery, and now I'm dating her. It was quite the experience. Anyway, love your videos. Why the f*** did we try to recreate that scene, bruh? I mean, it's kind of cute that you guys are dating now, but this is one clip from a movie where Tom Hardy gets stabbed in the heart by his wife, and he's just like nonchalantly, it's okay, I'll be fine, and just walks off. That's what this kind of reminds me of. But yeah, don't play with knives, people. Like, what? This is like one of the first things your parents teach you. Don't play with knives. Don't be stupid. Average 13-year-old dumbassery arc. This one is titled The Real Party Experience. I've been to house parties before, and honestly they've been enjoyable/tame. However, when I got added to a group chat with at least 100 other people, I knew this would be different. Come to the night of the event, the first thing I see is people high off their minds doing balloons, nitrous oxide, falling over in their awful slurred speech. Half an hour in, I come to the upstairs bathroom of the house to see this girl vomiting her guts into the sink whilst there's literal cum on the walls. After that, I took a conscious effort to look out for my friends until I realized one wasn't at the venue. Turns out they had taken some shady substances right before they had ventured out to get more drinks. What happened next was no surprise. No shit, my friend OD'd, and they had to be rushed back to the house, not the hospital though, or else they'd be cooked. For half an hour, I just watched them until they finally woke up. Naturally, as we were gearing to leave, another drunk girl fell into the TV and broke it, whilst a fight broke out in the garden. Overall, one of my crazy experiences, and a scary one for sure. House parties are overrated. Don't do drugs, kids. Okay, so you're saying your friend OD'd, whatever. There's 2 versions of OD. There's OD when they've just overused the drug. And then there's the OD where they're seizing, throwing up, and not able to function, and are possibly going to die. What you need to do when you're in that situation, you don't just leave your friend there for half an hour and hope they wake up. Because I promise you, whatever trouble you're going to be in is not going to be worse than the possibility of this person dying. Because then, guess what? You're all accessories to murder. Or accessories to manslaughter, or any sort of accessory of somebody dying. Please take your friends to the hospital, even if it's not the worst case scenario, because it can easily turn into the worst case scenario, and you could go to jail. If you have friends in need that are ODing in any capacity, just call a goddamn ambulance. This one is titled Slinky of Doom. One time, me and my cousin at his house were watching scary videos when we were home alone. We were like 8 years old, and we were in his room and the door was shut. The door suddenly flung open and we freaked out. We got up and shut it and went back to watching the videos. But then it flung open again, and so we got up to investigate. We split up and looked around the house to see what was happening. We both noted that there was a slinky on the dining room table. Once we came back from investigating the whole house, we went into the kitchen and saw the slinky connected to the top part of 2 chairs. This was our final straw, and we freaked out and bursted out crying. Our grandma was out shopping and she left her phone at home, so we stood in the kitchen crying, and then his sister appeared and laughed at us for falling for the prank. Bro, that is a W prank from the sister, I'm not gonna lie. I love stories like this because this is a genuinely terrifying thing for an 8-year-old. And then you find out like, oh, this is a real story because it was someone pranking you. It was not anything paranormal because, as we all know, the likelihood of it being paranormal is very, very slim to none. But then again, you never know. For example, I'm sure if you look behind you right now, you're probably going to see something pretty strange. And then question whether or not this whole thing of you watching this video is paranormal with the fact that there's something strange behind you. Did I get anyone? Anyone? Was there anything weird behind you? Everybody leave a comment if you saw something strange behind you when I just said that. This one is titled, My Father Tried to Kill Me Because of My Brother. Okay. When I was 13, I woke up one morning and couldn't speak. No sounds came out of my mouth. I went to a doctor and got diagnosed with laryngitis and prescribed some Deltasone. My father only sees me and my older brother on Sundays, but since he couldn't make it, he showed up on Monday. I told him what was happening, and he even showed me a trick where I could whisper and it would somewhat work like speaking. Later, he spoke to my brother, 17 at the time, told him that I was faking it because he heard me sneeze once. My father calls me upstairs, closes my bedroom door behind me, pins up against the wall in the closet, and grips me by the throat and started pressing down on it. He started saying he didn't want to, quote, hear any of my bullshit, end quote, ever again, and to, quote, stop saying all of this shit, end quote, while gripping harder and harder until my vision started to get blurry. He lets me go, and I immediately lunge my way to the door. He then grabs my shoulder, turns around, and starts asking me, what's wrong? Why are you immediately bolting to the door? Are you afraid of me? And begins lecturing me, although I don't remember any of it since I was actively fearing for my life. That was a few months ago now, and realized more of what my whole family is doing to me. I've since then begun planning a way to escape, get myself emancipated, something. I'm hoping soon I'll be successful. Thank you for your time. Damn, that is very sad. That is very rough. I'm very sorry to hear that. That is a very, very tense situation that needs to be handled with care. I don't know if you have like a counselor or something you can talk to at your school, or anything that you can discuss this with your family, or even your mom. I mean, does your mom know about this? And if she does, then maybe, I guess, not tell her. But I don't know, man. If you want to get emancipated, that's a very intense situation. Like, I would strongly suggest talking to someone about this. Just be careful it doesn't cause you any more harm, and best of luck to you. Hallows Eve when I was 12. Just a quick note, I call it Hallows Eve because I'm strange like that. Bro, not the I'm quirky like that line. Background, I was born and growing up in Washington, D.C. I have nice friends, and I'm a cool jazz musician. That is all. This event still scares me to this day, and I would like to share it. Back in 2022, I was able to go trick-or-treating with my only two friends for the first time in my life, so I put on my Stormtrooper armor and met up with my friends, one going as an Imperial commander and another Stormtrooper. We love Star Wars. Most of the night was simple, easy trick-or-treating, but near the end as we were coming back, someone came up to a kid across the street and started stabbing him with a damn knife. Because of the stupid tinted glass and limited vision of the helmet obstructed my view, I only knew of it because of my friend, who was the commander, and the commotion between the distracted parents. The kid was okay, and from what I heard, made a recovery. The guy was caught as my friend called the police. That's not the scary part. While I was readying for a jazz performance the next day, I heard a noise outside my window. You can see where this is going. A grown man rushed out of the shadow and presses his face on the window. I could make out him saying, quote, "Nice sax there, buddy. Now could you let me in," end quote. I noticed a huge bread knife in his hand, and he said, "I kid you not, quote, let's break bread, kid," end quote. At this point, I was so terrified I had forgotten to scream. So I did so. And the guy just waited there and let the cops take him. I hear he's in jail for life. This was overall traumatizing and terrifying for me. Hope this helps your next story video. Dude, this sounds like it's straight out of a horror movie. I'm not even lying to you. Like, that line sounds like a cheesy horror movie line. This kind of sounds a little fake, but if it is real, can you imagine just a guy with a bread knife at your window just waiting for you to let him in to basically stab you? Like, what do you do there? Do you, like, call someone? Do you throw shit at him? Like, what do you even do? I guess I would maybe try and lock myself in my room, or maybe go find a weapon. I don't know. In any case, thank you for sharing that. That is pretty terrifying. Hopefully that guy is in jail for life. This one is just titled, This is a Wild One. For some context, I'm a young woman. This happened late at night. I get off the public transport. The person who was supposed to pick me up hadn't arrived yet, so I had to wait by lounging in the area by myself for like 20 minutes. I'm a very anxious person, so I was looking at my surroundings. It was late at night after all. After a couple of minutes, I felt being stared at. I slightly glanced behind me, and I realized the man was looking at me while he smoked something. I felt extremely uncomfortable, but I decided not to move and keep track of how long he would stay there and look at me. After 10 minutes, I realized that something weird was going on since he didn't blink or even look away. Now I was freaking out. I started calling anyone I knew. Nobody picked up. I wanted to go to tell the worker, but he wasn't where he was supposed to be. I decided to go hide against the wall so he couldn't see me. Honestly, I wouldn't be in this situation if the driver decided to stay because they had arrived 20 minutes earlier, but then they decided to go to a bar. I was honestly lost on what to do. I tried asking for help from strangers, but all they would do was continue with their way. That terrified me the most, because I realized how truly alone I was. Eventually, the driver called me and told me to go to a parking lot, since they would arrive in 5 minutes. When I left the station, I realized that the man was following me outside. It was fully dark. I was now horrified. When I looked back, the guy made it seem like he was on his phone. Fortunately, my pickup quickly came and I left. I never saw him again. Honestly, this whole experience slightly traumatized me. Let's say I would never take public transport after dark. That is, yeah, dude. In general, if you're a young woman in any of the Western world countries especially, going on public transport after dark, you have to be very aware of your surroundings. You have to be very careful because people are very, very shitty, to say the least, okay? Have someone you can call, have mace with you, have whatever you need to do. It's very sad that that is the case, but it's just something that you should practice. If you can avoid public transport later at night, please try and do so. And yeah, just stay safe out there. And also screw everyone that wasn't helping you out in any way. Like if someone is in distress, and especially in something like that, just take a minute and just maybe sit with this person. You know, maybe just act like you're a friend and until the guy leaves. Anything like that. Like I get the whole stranger danger thing, but I don't know, man. Stay safe. This one is titled, I Am a War Criminal. Okay. Hello, my name is Sebastian. I grew up in a remote and very bad area of Colombia, and at 15 joined a self-defense army which fights terrorists. We were sent on a mission to kill terrorists at a camp in the jungle, and when we got there, they surrendered after a short battle. We interrogated them, and after we finished, we killed them. I personally shot one in the chest and killed him. I do not feel so bad because he was a terrorist and would have killed me and my family in the same way. I have now moved to Bogota, and I'm working in computers. Nobody knows about the terrorist I killed. Okay, this is a pretty intense short story. Does someone just make this up? I don't think they do. If you actually did do this and you're willing to mention in the comments below, I guess I'd love to know more details, but also I don't know if that's even safe for you to mention if you were part of some sort of a self-defense militia. I hope your work with computers is definitely more fulfilling and interesting than you shooting terrorists at 15, but god damn. Stuff like this just makes you appreciate not everywhere in the world is a nice, safe place, and you should be very grateful for the things you have and don't have, because who knows? It could have been me or you at 15 who had to join an organized militia in the middle of Colombia to deal with terrorists. In any case, I'm going to go to the next one. Best of luck to you. This last one is called Middle School Science Teacher Caught Fapping on Lunch Break. Oh my god, bro. Yay, more creepy teachers. This was about 10 years ago when it happened. It was in my last year of middle school at the time. We were maybe a couple of months into the school year at this point, and it started off pretty well. I was getting good grades, staying out of drama, and generally doing pretty good. Then out of nowhere, my school sent out a letter to all parents that one of the science teachers was arrested for possession of CP. Apparently, he was on his lunch break before one of his classes and was fapping to CP behind his desk. Absolutely vile behavior. Thankfully, it wasn't a student who caught him and came to light when they caught him in the act in the security footage. Bless whoever it was who had the misfortune of viewing that footage and seeing that abominable act unfold. They raided his house, or his parents' house rather, and they found multiple hard drives full of CP in his basement bedroom. It was sickening. He taught 7th grade science, and I was in 9th grade at the time, so thankfully I never had him as a teacher. The school was in total shock when it happened, and it was the only thing students were chatting about for the next couple of weeks after it happened. It was absolutely appalling that there were some teachers who defended him, saying, quote, he's just a person, people make mistakes, end quote. Yeah, well, that was one of the worst mistakes you can make, and it hardly feels like a mistake when you have to go out of your way to get such despicable content. Bro, you're preaching to the choir. That sort of thing just doesn't happen on accident. It's not just an oopsie, my bad, it won't happen again moment. He later confessed to having plans of putting hidden cameras in the boys' bathroom to watch them do their business. He thankfully never went through with it, but the thought of such a scenario is sickening, especially since I could have been involved in that scenario. I only have a couple of experiences with this vile creature, thankfully. He filled in as a sub for one of my language arts classes a couple of times, and it was glued to his iPad the entire time. He didn't even really teach anything. And now knowing what he was hiding in the closet, I don't want to begin to imagine the vile things he was probably doing on that iPad. It was all over the local news at the time. Oh, and there's a link for us to look this up. Let's see, what does it say? Dude, if this does not look like the absolute final boss of CP having Discord moderator looking head ass, I don't know what does. Oh, God. A West Jordan middle school teacher was arrested on CP charges after the search warrant was served on his home, admitted to having 20 to 25 videos of CP in his external hard drive. Dude, how do they just have hard drives upon hard drives of this stuff? Why is it always like multiple terabytes of it? It's never just they had one video. It's always like the absolute Library of Alexandria of CP in your basement. Why? I guess we know the why, but that's a different story. Also, complete side note here, if you're going to do such a deplorable thing, why would you risk watching it in the school that you work around people with security cameras and everything of the sort? Like, how addicted, how vile is that obsession for you to be willing to do something that stupid?
This one is titled,
Nearly Died at Night at My Friend's House. This happened about a year ago. Me and 3 other friends were staying at that one friend's house. It was about 12:30 at night, and we decided to go out in the forest right behind his house. Just the 4 of us with 2 flashlights. My friend lives pretty deep in the countryside away from the town, and his friends owned a part of the forest we were in. Anyway, we explored it for about 10 minutes before strange things started happening. First, we heard leaves rustling behind us, which we assumed were just small animals. Then we started to hear footsteps behind us, which really started to freak us out. But we assumed it was just one of us trying to troll each other. Finally, I swear to you on my life, we turned around and saw a man wearing all black, and he looked massive, well over 6 feet tall. His face was covered, and he just stood there and looked at us. I'd say he was about 20 feet from us. We all looked at each other and dead sprinted back to the house. When we got back to the house, we locked the door behind us and looked back. There was no sight of him. I don't know if we were just hallucinating due to lack of sleep or what, but this scared the living crap out of all of us. We've been back in the forest a couple of times since then, and we've never seen this man again. Here's the thing, dude. If this was hallucination, what are the odds of all 4 of you seeing this? What are the odds of 4 different living, breathing beings seeing something and it just being a hallucination? Unless you're all under the influence of like the same type of mustard gas or something, the odds of that are pretty slim. You probably saw someone. You probably saw someone who was up to no good. And honestly, I don't know why you would go back into that forest to look for him. Sounds like a very terrible idea, and I would very much advise against doing stuff like that. But I'm glad you're all okay, and stay away from the forest.
Now, before I get into this next one, this story includes a discussion of very sensitive mental health topics, so viewer discretion is advised.
This one is titled, I'm the Reason My Friend Killed Himself. Okay, that is intense. Back when I was around 9 years old, I had a friend called Jimmy, who was the same age as me, and he lived very close to my house on a farm. We went to the same school, and because of how close we were, we saw each other a lot. One day, I went to his house. He told me that he would have intercourse with his sister, who was around 6 at the time. I didn't truly believe it when he told me, and I thought it was just trying to seem cool in a weird way. I brushed it off, but one day, when I went to his house, I walked into his room and saw him and his sister doing the deed. I was in shock, because I had never seen anything like that in person. He then turned around, smiled at me, and asked me if I wanted to join in. I said no, and I left his house instantly. I tried to forget what I saw, but I couldn't. I didn't say anything for years, but after about 2 years, I spoke up. I told people at school about it, and word spread fast. A few days later, I found out he had taken his life because of how people at school were treating him. The reason I ended up telling people was because of everything he kept saying to me. The only thing I'll say here was that it started because he showed her porn, and she said it looked fun and wanted to try it. And he also did things with animals. I still to this day do not feel any guilt.
This is so difficult and scary and traumatic in so many ways, man. I mean, where do I begin here? Like, there's no way in hell that a 9-year-old will ever be equipped to handle this situation in any capacity. Because seriously, what do you do, like, as a kid, witnessing something like this? Because in most cases, at 9 years old, you don't really fully understand what's happening. I, as an adult, don't even know what I would do and how I would bring this up to anyone. How do you bring up that a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old are doing it and then are also siblings? Because they watched videos on the internet. Porn is just so dangerous, man. I was also exposed to it at a very young age, especially when I was a kid. The internet was still in its Wild West stage, I think, a little bit. I think now we're past the excuse, man. Parents need to be a lot more involved in what their kids are seeing on the internet. They need to be a lot more educated. Any parents that are watching this video, I really hope some of you are. Please monitor what your kids are watching and what they're doing, and just try your best to keep them away from this stuff, because it is a real problem. And if things like this are a possibility, it's not an excuse anymore.
It's not an excuse that you don't know how to use the technology. You learn how to use it for your kids' safety. Okay, that's all I have to really say about that. As far as you're concerned, man, I hope that you've told your parents about this. I hope that you're possibly seeing some sort of a psychiatrist or a therapist of some sort. I don't even really feel comfortable commenting on this too much any further. What I'm going to say is it's a good thing that you told people. Jimmy taking his life is not your fault, okay? You can't put that on yourself. There really isn't much else you could have done here. There's not much else that would have made this go smoothly without you also being severely affected by this. The only thing that would have been better here, I think, would have been for you to talk to an adult instead of the kids at school. And you let me know in the comments below. I genuinely don't have another thing to say about this. I just hope that you're okay, and I wish you the best of luck. And before I go any further, if any of you watching this need any sort of mental health support, I'm going to leave some resources in the description below. And now we can continue with the next story. This one is titled, "A dude in my friend group acted like a jerk to everyone, so I got rid of him." Okay, I'm hoping this doesn't mean that you killed him or something. So a guy we'll call Jack, he was one of my oldest friends. We were friends for years until 2 years ago when he started making everyone go against me, slowly begging my friends to kick me out of the friend group. My friends weren't having it, so they didn't listen to him, thankfully. After a year of not telling anyone and this still going on, one of my friends was caught saying stuff which I won't share. But to me, it was nothing serious. We were in middle school, so yeah, everyone was stupid, and they made it look overdramatic. So Jack did the same thing with my friend. He told everyone to kick him out, and no one agreed, so nothing happened. But finally I told my friend about what he had been doing all year. He believed me, so he wanted Jack out. The other friends weren't convinced, so they also didn't agree. But some of them did. So we had a quote-unquote beef, you could say. But at the end of the year, we decided, why not prank him? It wasn't something crazy. We were just having water fights, basically, and teamed up on him. He took it way too seriously. He threw my friend into a pool which was dirty, and he got a cut on his leg, and he still has that scar to this day. Everyone turned on him, and he even threatened us that he would throw a glass bottle at us. After that, we cut communication, but it was like a puppy following us, acting like it was in the friend group. So I had enough. I tripped a girl beside him, breaking her leg, and I blamed it on him. Everyone in the school hated him, and after that, he moved. I regret this decision because it was so stupid, but back then it seemed like the only way. The teachers loved him and always took his side. I thought I had to get rid of him no matter what the cost. I never told anyone about this, but I think there was a better way of doing it. Thanks for reading this. There was definitely a better way of doing it. First of all, this poor girl whose leg was broken, why did there have to be collateral for this? But I understand there being beef in the friend group. I understand that he was annoying and you wanted to get rid of him and this and that, but this seems a little cruel in terms of a way to get rid of him. Like, framing him for doing something that he didn't do in the first place is a very shitty thing to do. Even if he was trying to get you kicked from the friend group, no matter what he did, framing someone and assassinating their character when they haven't done the thing they're being accused of is a very awful thing to do to someone. Like, imagine he had done this to you. Now, you say you regret this, whatever the case may be, but look, if you don't ever talk about it, this is something you're going to have to live with and be guilty about for the rest of your life. Then again, telling someone about this, I don't know if that ends well for you either at this point. The best way to really deal with something like this is to kind of just let it unfold on its own. Let karma do the work. Because you guys had already gotten him out of the friend group. Yes, he was tagging along and making it seem like he was still part of it, but deep down, you all know that he's not really your friend, and eventually you could just straight up tell him, get out of here, don't talk to us, don't come near us, whatever the hell the case may be. Use your words first, and even if he became violent or something like that, what is he going to do, fight all of you? I don't think so. He's going to get his ass kicked. Strangely enough, I've been in a similar situation before where a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, when we were younger, and I had a falling out, and he tried to basically badmouth me to everyone in our friends group and our close friends. And that ended up backfiring on him because everyone knew the truth about what had happened in a given situation. Everybody knew my character and knew his character, so it was basically as simple as letting things happen on their own. Life has a weird way of sorting itself out like that. Now, all things considered, don't hurt other people in order to get your agenda passed, okay? That girl breaking her leg was definitely not worth whatever the outcome is here. In any case, I hope you've learned from your mistake. This one is titled The Cheese/Diarrhea Incident of October. Okay, interesting. At the school I used to attend, there was a bus driver who nobody liked. I had a few friends, specifically 2 on that one day, me, 7th grade at the time, and my friends, both 6th graders. Now, although the school called it a bus, it was really a carpool with a driver they hired, that's all. Now, there were multiple occasions that caused this incident to happen.
These are just some of the ones I can immediately think of first. Number 1, I was having an allergic reaction and struggling to breathe, and the driver laughed it off. Number 2, the same thing happened to my friend, and the driver laughed it off too. And number 3, although not as bad, he didn't let me refill my water bottle for the half-an-hour journey because it would take too long apparently. It would have taken a minute at most. Now 3 does sound okay at first, but the best part is that we weren't even moving yet. Still just sitting at the parking lot waiting for the last kid to get there. On that very day, we decided we had enough of the disrespect. Now our school cafeteria had 2 special things on its menu: fried macaroni and tea bottles. I bought both that day, and we decided to crush up the macaroni and add the tea to it. Then it formed into an oily ball of despair, and while the driver was out of the car, we dumped it onto his seat. When he came back, he was pissed. We called it the cheese incident because the ball looked like a clump of cheese, and the next day, still not satisfied with the pain we have caused this man, took a few things: an ointment that had a strong smell, used for stomach aches, a strong perfume, and a few other specially prepared ingredients. I was planning on using the same macaroni from the last incident, however it was not in stock, so we had to use a wafer snack instead that we crushed up the same way. There were so many liquids that combined with the brown hazelnut wafer powder that it looked like an actual human diarrhea, and we spread it across the seat. We named this separate incident the Diarrhea Chair Incident of October, and we never technically got caught. The special solution I specifically worked on for this very moment was extremely strong as well, as when I smelled the bag it was contained in, I could smell every individual ingredient. The sugar I mixed in to attract ants, the perfume, the ointment, even the mints I dissolved in water and added into the mixture. It all hit me when I smelled that bag, and every bit of the paste went on the guy's chair. I'm not sorry, to be honest. Okay, Walter White of prank concoctions, that's an interesting story to say the least. I mean, but I don't even really know how to react to this. I mean, it sounds like the guy was an unpleasant being to be around. I'm not sure. Did he deserve this? I don't really know. I don't understand how you guys didn't get caught, but I guess there are probably a lot of kids that go through that car every day. I guess good on you for not getting caught. A prank's a prank. You did what you had to do and you got your revenge on an annoying bus driver. I'm sure complaining about him would have been a better idea first, but kids are kids. I don't know what to really say. This next one is titled, I Caught My Father Being a Gooner and Possibly a Cheater. Hi Nico, I'm a big fan. I hope you can include this story. So a few years ago, my mother left to see her mother, aka my grandma, and one day I woke up to my dad talking weirdly sexual through the phone to another woman, saying stuff like, quote, you look so cute when you get all red, end quote, or quote, especially when I push my tongue deep into your mouth, end quote. Also that same year, my father gave me his phone to search up something, and instantly got shocked at seeing that my dad was in an adult content website. This also explains why he's also kind of weird with me. I'm a boy, and my brother, groping but not going too far, slapping our butts, etc. This has been going on a few years now, and today as I'm writing this, the dude had Bluetooth on and a pee video was on hold in the car's autoplay. There's a lot more to say, but I don't want to make it even longer. I'm also scared to tell my mother because they might marry soon, but I also don't want to live with the fact that my father watches adult content and is possibly a cheater. I'm planning on telling my mother once I'm 18. Still a bit of a long way, but I'm also scared. Any advice, Nico? Oh dear. Okay. Look, your dad sounds like a weird fella, especially with the acting weird towards you. As far as him watching videos, a lot of adults watch adult content, but this does not excuse the way he's acting towards you. And it also does not excuse him potentially cheating on your mom. This is what I would do. I'm not telling you this is what you should do, but this is what I would do. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but my parents are divorced. And if I had heard my dad talking to another woman and in any regard saying weird sexual stuff towards her, I would be telling my mom. That's just me. Especially if they're not married yet, I would break that news to her before they get married, because after that, things become a lot messier. Just be very careful. That's all I'm going to say about this, because this will very much ruin things within your family. Again, comments, if you have a better idea of how to go about this, please let this guy know. And that's all I'm going to say about it. This next one is titled, I Couldn't Save My Own Friend. This story happened a few years ago. I was part of this friend group and there were 6 of us just hanging out until the end of the school year. My friend, whom I'll call Barry, slowly became different. It started out small. First it was her personality. I had known Barry throughout my middle school year, so it was a bit jarring to hear her make tons of sex jokes throughout our days. I figured it was just teenage hormones kicking in and I didn't think much of it. Then she picked up vaping. Maybe this was one of those shifting points. Maybe it was a sign she was going down the wrong direction. But she started vaping and only told one of us about it. Said friend, whom I'll call Derek, was also concerned for Barry and didn't tell any of us about the vaping.
I think he wanted to say something too, but afraid of bringing it up to avoid conflict. But things just became more crude and depressing throughout the year. At the end of the school year, our group had a massive fight because Barry lent one of our friends her Facebook account, and things spiraled during the argument. I thought that was the end of it, but what ended up happening was far more sinister than I expected. Out of pressure and concern, Derek told us all the things that happened with Barry after a few months of hiding it for her sake. Not only did she vape, she was groomed and involved with multiple sexual encounters with guys far older than her. These dudes were in their late 20s, messing with a 15-year-old girl, and turned her into the worst version of herself. She even stated that she enjoyed it, and sent multiple pics to Derek to show that she wasn't a coward. During those months, Derek had tried to gently warn and persuade her to stop, only to be met with aggression from her side. At the end, he reached his limit and told our friend group everything that had happened. Maybe it was the stress from the intense studying, but I cried that night just thinking about what happened to Barry. Our friend ended up contacting her parents to tell them what happened, and we decided to meet up for an offline talk. It was overwhelming to say the least. Even though her parents knew the events going on, they didn't see the proof in messages till that meetup, and they cried. Her mom was just covering her mouth, trying to grasp her words, while her dad just kept his head low down, pondering how they could taint his daughter like that. I honestly would have cried that day, but I didn't out of anxiety. While her parents took away her phone in order to get the identity of the college guys, all Barry did was cuss at Derek for revealing her secrets, promptly blocking him after hours of the meetup. Things have changed since, and I hope she's doing fine out there, but still some days I wake up feeling sweaty, remembering what happened and process it like a trauma even when it's not. I wish I had stepped in earlier, comforting her before things got wild. Okay, this is... wow. You guys really bring the heat with these stories, I cannot lie to you. First things first, this is not your fault. Even though Barry was in a very, very unfortunately bad situation, she didn't even realize it, okay? You can't... It's one of those weird situations of you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Derek tried that, right? Derek tried to get her to stop doing all these things with these guys. And then at some point, you know, he lost it and he told all of you, and then you guys told her parents. At the very least, it got out there, and yes, she might hate you guys for it, but in the long run, she's going to be thanking you for it. I don't fully understand what you meant by her parents already knew something was going on, but based on their reaction, it sounds like they didn't really know what was happening. So all things considered, you guys did what you could. Yeah, maybe it took a while, but this is somebody else's business, okay? It's not your fault that she went down this path, and it's understandable for you to not feel great about this because she's your friend, right? She's someone who has been taken advantage of by older, creepy guys. So it's okay to feel bad about it, but just know that this is not something that is on you. Hopefully Barry's doing better, and I hope you start doing better as well. This one is titled Enderman IRL. A while ago now, me and some other friends decided to go explore an abandoned barn. You had to go through 2 fields to get to it, and it was surrounded by forest, so it was quite covered up with trees surrounding it. After we explored for a while, we ended up seeing someone in there with us. I didn't get a good look at him, but one of my friends did, and he said he was wearing a hoodie and was just walking towards us, slowly. Obviously, we ran out of the barn, and we decided to explore around the place, since we didn't really want to go back in the barn. We were deciding where to go, and 2 to 3 of my friends went to the forest, leaving me with just one other friend of mine. Long story short, our other friends started walking back over to us through the field because they found nothing. Me and the other friend I was with were watching them come over when we just saw this huge black skinny figure run through the trees insanely fast. It was like 8 to 9 feet tall. We knew it was real too because as it was running past, we could hear the footsteps of whatever it was sprinting by us. None of my other friends saw it, and none of them believed us either. To this day, me and that one other friend still talk about it, and we don't know what it was. Man, I don't know what it is about a lot of you guys, but why is it when you see a person in a building that's abandoned or an entity in a building that's abandoned that you don't really know much about, that you decide to stay there and continue exploring? That's your cue to leave. That's why you explore the abandoned building, to find something interesting, cool, or scary, and then go tell a cool story about it. Not to find out exactly what it is. That is not ever the good idea. When you see the weird, crazy, spooky, scary thing, get out of there. That's it. Steer clear of whatever that was and live to tell the story. This one is titled, Do Hormones Justify This? So I live in an enclosed neighborhood where almost every kid living there goes to the same school. This catastrophic day, I invited a friend over. We'll call him Steven. We had to finish a boring odd group assignment, and so we did. After that, we decided we would go to another friend's house, we'll call him Ryan, and just exist outside for a while. We just talked for a while until late at night, when someone just said, wouldn't it be funny if we just started grabbing each other's dis. Okay, bro. This is turning super gay super fast. I know I can't justify what happened next with a one thing led to another without going into detail word by word, but I'm really grossed out by that. Whatever, we ended up showing each other's private parts and doing stuff. Involved butts, okay. And after that, we went outside and said we would suck on each other's you-know-what. Steven didn't want to because he's kind of religious, but me and Ryan had our hormones in the goddamn sky. We did that and also ended up kissing nicely. We were all friends and talked to each other like nothing happened. I kind of fantasize with this moment happening again, and I don't know if I'm writing these out too casually. Should I tell anyone or just leave it as a hormone spike situation? My boy, there's a very high chance that you are gay. I don't know how else to put this to you. I think you and Ryan like each other. Now, if you're fantasizing about it happening again, I don't know if you've ever done any of that stuff with a girl before. If you have and it didn't seem that interesting, then chances are that you're gay and you like boys. Nothing wrong with that. As far as if you should tell anyone, that's very much up to you. I don't know how old you are, but yeah, you figure that one out. This next one is titled, I once cursed a bully and he ended up dead a few days later. Basically what happened is around a year ago, I was getting bullied really badly by a kid I'll just call Jim. Jim was ruthless, even going to the point where he threatened my life saying, and I quote, "I will slit your throat, faggot," end quote. It got to the point where I wanted to end my life. Of course, I did not go through with that, but sometime after, before the end of the school year, this was in 9th grade, I prayed to God that something good would happen that will make next year easier. A few days later, it turned out Jim and his dad got hit by a semi, and they both died. Still to this day, I feel guilty thinking I was the one who caused his death. I may have hated him, but to think that I possibly caused his death disturbs me heavily. Well, first things first, you didn't cause his death. The semi caused his death. Now, it's unfortunate that this kid and his dad died. Now, that considered, if you just so happen to be slightly happy about the fact that you don't have to worry about this kid anymore, I don't think anyone would blame you. Regardless, you didn't do this, has nothing to do with you. It's just a very strange coincidence, okay? This one is titled, My Best Friend's Dad Ran Me Over. Okay. So me and my best friend were riding bikes down a mountain while his dad was driving behind us. My best friend started to hold onto the side of the car to get momentum up the hill, so I did the same, but it was a mistake. As we got to the top of the hill, it went downhill drastically as it turned. As we rounded the turn, I fell off the bike and landed under the car, and the back tire ran me over. It was the most terrifying moment in my life because I thought my life was over, but somehow I walked away with only a beat up shoulder and knee, and me and my friend now joke about it and keep me away from cars while on a bike. Yeah, that is intense, man. Getting run over and living to tell the tale is pretty insane to say the least. But you learned a valuable lesson. Don't use cars to gain momentum on a bike because bike can go under car and vroom vroom over you. And not good at all. This one is called I Got Catfished. Back in 2024, when I was around 15, maybe 14, I was dating this girl online. We had met around 2 years prior on Fortnite. Yeah, Fortnite if you can believe it. So me and this girl were best friends for around 1 year and a half. And then I realized I had caught feelings for her. After about a month of debating whether I should tell her, I decided I should. And so I told her how I felt, and she told me she felt the same way. So me and this girl, we'll call her M, got together, and around only literally 2 months of being together, she tells me, I want to come see you. And me being a 14, 15-year-old kid with a chance to see a girl, I was like, I want to see you too, baby, on some cringy ass stuff. But she comes all the way down from North Wales to South Wales. So I tell my parents who were out for the day, oh, by the way, my girlfriend's coming over. And they say to me, no, make her go back home. At this point, she's already on a train and had paid tickets to come see me. Now, I have autism and ADHD, so I believe what people tell me easily. I was around 15, and this girl told me she was 14. Only a year younger, not that bad. So my parents even pay for her ticket back, to which she declines. I'm scared of getting in trouble. My parents call the police and train lines to find her. They ask me for her full name, to which I tell them, and her date of birth, which I also tell them. The police did some digging and find out that not only did she catfish me, she lied about her age. I didn't get catfished in the sense that I got preyed on by an older man. A younger girl told me she was older, and I almost met up with her, and I remember how she said she was younger. She lied. She wasn't 1, not 2, but 4 years younger than me. Every day I live with the fact that I dated someone that was only 11. If it wasn't for my parents, this would have been a whole different situation, I fear. I'm lucky I found out. The second I found out, I cut contact with her to this day. My friends make jokes about this to this day, calling me all sorts of names when they know she lied about her age. I mean, heck, she even admitted to lying to the freaking police, and that's probably the only reason I didn't get absolutely cooked.
I mean, I guess you didn't get catfished in the full sense, but that being said, meeting up with a stranger off the internet at 15 is never a good idea, okay? Now, if you had seen her face and been on video calls and then you told each of your parents about it and they were also in attendance, that would have made a lot more sense. However, another thing is this 11-year-old got on a train by herself, probably without telling her parents, which is also stupid on her end, right? Your parents were right to tell you not to see this girl. I mean, it very much could have been a situation where you were going to be kidnapped because, especially with your parents not being home, very, very sketchy situation. Now, as far as her lying about her age, girls lie about their age all the time. This is not a new thing. And in most cases, it is to make themselves look older. I mean, we had an issue at my university where the frat houses had to start IDing girls that went into the parties because there were 17 and 16-year-old girls that were trying to get into frat parties, posing as 18-year-olds or whatever. Now, for those of you watching, I don't know if you know anything about frat parties, but the last thing that you want to do as a 15 and 16-year-old girl is go to a frat party. Anyway, as far as you getting cooked, you would not have gotten cooked for this. She lied about her age. Also, it's 15 to 11. It's not 18 to 11. You're not an adult. You're also a kid. I don't know if you've noticed that. But I will admit, 15 to 11 is something that your friends will cook you about. It's not illegal or anything. Don't worry about that part. But, dude, before you start meeting up with strangers online, you gotta make sure you've seen their face. You gotta make sure that they're who they say they are. I mean, you knew this girl for 2 years. It's not like she completely lied to you. Holding up the facade for 2 years is a little difficult. That'd be some crazy spy level shit. But as a minor, I wouldn't do that. And even as an adult, be very careful. This one is titled, I Might Be Responsible for Collapsing a Bank. Okay. When I was younger, I used to live in my hometown. It was a small town away from urban areas. This town, at the time, had one bank, and it was the only financing option for people there, mostly because of their lack of knowledge of other methods. I was friends with the boy who sweeps the bank. While cycling by, I saw that he was really frustrated, and upon inquiring, I got to know that the bank hadn't paid him his wages in a while now. I offered to check with my neighbor who happened to be looking for house help. I told the neighbor about my friend, and she agreed to let him work from next month. She was curious why he wanted to change, as she knew he worked in the bank. I told her that he wasn't being paid properly, and that was that. Or so I thought. Later that evening, a huge commotion took place outside the bank, with practically the entire town standing at its doorstep demanding their money. Some people literally throwing rocks at the manager, who tried to pacify the crowd and apparently got seriously injured. Turns out there was a huge rumor that the bank was about to collapse, and I put one and one together. He could have told someone other than me, and that might have caused the distrust. The bank's owner was on vacation and could not be reached. The bank's ready cash was also gone. People came up with all sorts of conspiracies, such as the owner being murdered. The funniest part was that a beggar who needed someone to take him home every day because he was lame was apparently sprinting full speed to the bank to get his money back. Turns out the bank was fine, and it was just a rumor. But after that evening's events, there was no coming back, and the bank collapsed for good this time. Yeah, that's just kind of how fragile banks are, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know, banks only have to have 10% of the money they receive from you on hand at any given time. It's called fractional reserve banking, meaning if I put $100 in the bank, they only have to keep about 10 of those dollars, and then they can lend the rest of the money out. That's basically how banks make money. And that's fine for when the economy is fine and everything is normal and people aren't scared that their money is going to be lost, because no one's ever taking all of their money out of the bank at any given time at the same time. You might have like one person close their account and they're like, okay, give me all my money. The bank can survive me taking my $100 out. But what the bank can't survive is everyone taking their $100 out, because they only have 10 of my dollars, 10 of Joe's dollars, 10 of Mike's dollars, and then all of a sudden we're asking for all of our money. Well, they don't have it. But in general, this is all very fascinating to me, because the amount of trust we place in money and currency and banks and all that stuff, it's all just a facade. In reality, one domino effect, just like this kid here, told one woman that the bank wasn't paying its employees right. This woman then told everyone she knew. And then people started getting nervous and like, do you think the bank is like running out of money? What do we do? Let's go take our money out. And then everyone hears about it and everyone takes their money out. One little spark set the whole thing on fire. Quite fascinating and also quite scary. This one is titled Almost Caught in the Act. It was my senior year of high school and I was picking up my girlfriend at the time from work. She got off work late at night, so by the time we got to her apartment, her parents were already asleep. It wasn't unusual for me to go inside her apartment with her while her family was sleeping. Her parents were trusting of me and liked me a lot. We went in and were chilling in her room on her bed. She had a long shift and wanted to relax and relieve some stress. We were cuddling on the bed for a while, and one thing led to another. You know how it goes. We figured it would be fine since everyone was asleep, as long as we were quiet about it. I got undressed first, but as soon as my pants went down, we hear a doorknob being turned. There was no time to react. Her mom appears in the doorway. She flicks on the light and all there was to see was me, butt-ass naked next to my girlfriend that was still fully clothed. I wanted to jump out of the window in that moment. It was like the third floor. Her mom's eyes widened like never before. She didn't even say anything. She just turned the light back off and shut the door. We were both too stunned to speak. I quickly put my clothes back on and sat on the edge of the bed in complete silence. A few minutes later, we hear a knock on the door, and her mom talks through the door and says, quote, "I think you should go," end quote. I felt another wave of embarrassment rush over me. I say goodbye to my girlfriend and quickly leave. I didn't go back to her apartment for over a month after that, out of fear and embarrassment. Apparently her mom really wanted me to come back because she didn't want that to be the last memory she had of me. Hope you found this hilarious and thanks for the amazing vids. Oh man, it's really just the caught in 4K. I think the only saving grace here is that it was her mom and not her dad. Because you know how dads are about their daughters. It's just, you might have been dead in that moment. I feel like a lot of people have stories where they almost got caught, but you really did get caught. Like, oh dear. At least you weren't mid-act or anything. It was just right at the start, because then that becomes infinitely worse. But thank you for sharing. I hope things got more normal later on. This one is titled, "I accidentally dated a gay dude. I'm a straight guy," in parentheses. I grew up in a very small and conservative town in the Midwest, and when I was around 5th or 6th grade, a kid moved into our town and I began to be friends with them. At this point in my life, I was pretty naive about the idea of different sexualities, so I didn't see us as anything more than just normal friends. But one day, I got a text from him at like 1 a.m. where he just straight up said, quote, "I like you," end quote. And thinking this was just his saying he appreciated me as a friend, I responded, quote, "I like you too. You're really chill," end quote. I guess he didn't question the casualness of the response, and I didn't question the interaction at all either, so we just kept hanging out. I thought we were friends, he thought we were dating. This went on for like 2 to 3 weeks, where we got really close until one of my friends asked why I was dating a dude. So being as innocent as I was, my friend was forced to explain gayness to me. And I had to break off the quote friendship with that gay guy, but I still got teased and bullied for it throughout my time in school. Well, I mean, it doesn't sound like you kissed him or anything or did anything gay. But it's like, that's just an unfortunate thing, man, because for guys to say "I like you" to each other, I guess it's kind of gay. I don't know what to say. But thanks for sharing, dude. This next one is titled, "My schizophrenic aunt tried murdering me with a tombstone. When I was 4, my aunt convinced me to go up to the mountains in rural Pennsylvania where people would play in the graveyard. We were playing hide and seek when she ended up pushing a 250-pound tombstone during a manic episode on top of me, crushing me completely. Somehow she pulled it off me and carried me down the mountain where my leg got really up. I'm okay, lol. My aunt ended up running away out of guilt to Arizona. Sorry to all of y'all out there having to deal with her. The worst part of this story is that it happened a week before Halloween. I got crushed by a tombstone a week before Halloween. Man, I don't even know where to begin with this. First of all, whatever the case, schizophrenia, some other mental disorder, how does your brain go to, let me push a tombstone in any direction, never mind push it onto someone? How do you even do that? How did your aunt push a 250-pound tombstone on you? Aren't those usually just like embedded into the ground? Like, aren't they sort of buried a little bit? I don't know, man. That's kind of insane, though. I'm glad that you're okay and you recovered from that. This one is titled, "I think I'm destined to be transgender." So this was back when I was 14 or 15 years old. I had hit puberty, and as you know, during puberty, hormones start going wild, and I was very interested in, well, things. Anyway, I started looking at girls. Young girls, older girls. I didn't care. But I was just looking at girls, specifically the boobs. And when I looked at boobs, I knew I wanted them, and I needed them at whatever cost. I just couldn't keep it in. Kept looking, and I was getting careless. I was almost trying to make it look obvious. Anyway, after a few months of watching, I decided I had enough. I took a pair of my underwear, and I cut it up in a way and threaded a string through it in a certain way to where it acted as a fully working bra. And I put t-shirts where the boobs were supposed to go, and I would sleep with them every night for almost a month. Until not even that was enough. So sometimes when my parents, sister, and brother would all go to his basketball practice, I would go into my mom's closet and take out her biggest, prettiest dresses and put them on. Then I would look in the mirror and I would imagine myself as a real woman. Sometimes also at night I would think to myself that maybe I was supposed to be a girl, but somehow in the womb I got mixed up. But anyway, I also used to talk with ChatGPT and have a bunch of really sexual conversations. But eventually I thought I grew out of it, because once football season came, I felt like a man again, because I was a defensive lineman and I was the toughest on my team. But once the season ended and school started back up, I kind of fell out of it.
until I found a really cute girl I had a crush on. To make long story short, we ended up dating, and sometimes I would stare at her boobs. And eventually she got weirded out and broke up with me. We haven't talked since because she thinks I'm weird, but I've been fantasizing about becoming a woman, and sometimes I even look at other boys doing something called, quote, window shopping, end quote. But ever since my football season, I haven't gotten any chances to keep doing it. Do you have any advice for me, Nico? Look, me personally, I never questioned whether or not I was in the wrong body or anything. I've been pretty content being a guy my entire life. Other than that, it sounds like you're quite conflicted because on the one hand, you say you felt masculine when you were in football practice, then on the other hand, you're sort of fantasizing about being a woman. The one thing I would tell you is, at the very least until you're a fully developed adult, I wouldn't do anything drastic like changing genders surgically or anything. You could go into, I guess, drag, because that's kind of like the closest thing to what you're describing here. Like, you're still a guy, but you also have a feminine side that you want to explore. It sounds like you have gender dysphoria to some capacity, but yeah, I would go see a therapist, man, and see what you think is going on. Just make sure, like I said, whatever you do, don't go switching genders surgically before you're fully developed adult, because puberty is messy and hormones are strange, and sometimes you feel things that you don't feel later and vice versa. But I would talk to a psychiatrist about this, or a psychologist, okay? But best of luck to you. This one is called I Watched My Friend Destroy His Finger. One time in the summer, I was out with my best friend. We were both 15 and dumb, and our town had this bridge that joined the two sides of the town. The bridge had these rocks on both sides that were to stop waves, and we would usually climb down the rocks to hang out under the bridge. One day, we decided to carry some of the rocks up and throw them over the rail into the river. We ended up doing this for a while, and we slowly moved up to bigger and bigger rocks. My friend picked up a rock that we should have known was too heavy, but thought we could manage it. We ended up getting all the way up the rocks and to the guardrail that stops cars from flying off into the ocean, and he set the rock to balance on the rail to catch his breath. But when he picked it up again, his grip failed, and he eviscerated his left pinky finger between this near 100-pound rock and the sharp metal guardrail. He ended up forgetting about the rock and yelled at me to call 911. I didn't know how severe the situation was and thought that he was just joking. But then when I caught a glimpse of his hand, I saw only red. So I checked my pockets to realize both our phones were sitting under the bridge. So I ran all the way back under to grab our phones and called 911. I let my friend explain what had happened and sat him down. As we waited for the ambulance to come, he said he wanted to play Clash Royale to ease the pain? Multiple question marks. So I held the phone while he played. Eventually the ambulance found us and he got treated. Later that day I was with him at the hospital and I got to witness the lovely sight of a doctor quite literally picking up pieces of his finger that were barely hanging on. Hear the doctor go, I think this goes here, and stitch his finger crudely back together. Thankfully his finger survived, and now me and his family sometimes call him Pinky. I mean, that's pretty funny, but also, yeah, kids, don't go playing with large rocks and stones on the sides of cliffs. You could have had a lot worse happen than just a pinky being destroyed there. I can't even imagine how painful that must have been. Like, the closest I've ever gotten to, like, my fingers getting crushed in anything was once I got my pointer finger caught in a door, like a car door, and it hurt really bad. I was very young, and all I can remember is that we were going to a beach or something, and my nail just turned black, and then a few weeks later, it just took the nail off, and a different one had spawned underneath, so I was fine. But yeah, that sounds horrible. This one is titled, I Accidentally Dated a Gay Dude. Okay, what, dude, this is the second one in 2 videos. So basically, when I was like 15, I had just broken up with my girlfriend of 2 years, and in a pretty tough spot where I felt really lonely. So I decided that the best thing to do is to spend too much time on Discord and also joining some weird servers. In one of those servers, I got a DM by a user who told me she was a Danish girl in my age, and we talked for a few days. And quote, she, I'm gonna just say she for now, was really like the perfect person, having a lot of similar hobbies and also just easy to talk to. After like 1 week, she randomly got really personal and intimate, asking me questions which could only be answered in a dirty way. But I kept playing along since I can't refuse a situation like that. So after about 15 minutes, she then sent me a picture as a reward with her like in a towel in the bathroom, which was also very good looking if you ask me. That continued for like a month, with her now getting all freaky every single night and me playing along every night. The conversations went further and she sent more pictures, with one being very close to exposing her you-know-what, which to be real, I may have saved on my phone if you know. Then on a random day, she just stopped responding, and I was of course a bit suspicious, making up all sorts of excuses, like her parents finding out, and taking her phone. But after a few days, I completely forgot about her, and since it was on an alt account, I didn't check the DMs. But like about 4 months later, I go onto that account and see she texting me saying she is sorry and all that. I then asked her why she did it, and she said she felt bad for me, which was confusing, since I don't remember anything bad happening. So I asked again, and she admitted, I quote, "This entire time I was a dude," end quote. After asking a bit more, he told me that he wanted to feel like a girl, and those pics were him trying to look like a girl, which did work, and that he texted me because I was so kind to him. So please, everyone watching, do not date online, and if, have them send you an audio and FaceTime them. Listen, man, I can't agree more with you. If you're going to do anything online, if you're going to go long distance and any sort of thing with someone that you've never met in person before, you have to be careful. Shit like that happens, and you don't know who you could be talking to on the other side. In your case, you got catfished with gender. You could have gotten catfished with gender and age and then eventually met up with a creepy old dude as a 15-year-old boy, which would be horrifying and could have probably gotten you kidnapped. So, yeah. You need to be very, very careful with this sort of stuff. Always verify before you start getting freaky with people online. But I'm glad you're okay and that it didn't turn into anything worse. This one is titled, "I Got My Older Brother Killed." This story happened a couple of years ago, 7 to be exact. I was 11 years old. My brother was on a journey to become a full-time pro boxer. He would usually take me to the local boxing gym to hang around and watch him box. On this particular day, he didn't want to go for whatever reason. However, I insisted on going. My older brother was known in the neighborhood for being a prodigy and trying to become something big. On our way back from the gym, we would usually take a more public and accessible route home. However, often I would ask him to take a detour and go through an alleyway that had multiple graffiti and looked really nice. Little did I know this would be the biggest mistake of my life. Like usual, I asked him to go through the alley as I wanted to see the graffiti. This alley was extremely secluded and dark. As we were walking past, we spot this group of guys speaking extremely loud and acting weird. Probably under the influence, which would be normal in our neighborhood, except when we got closer to them, they recognized my brother and started trying to get his gym bag. My older brother was obviously fearing that they would harm me. He fought back, them outnumbering my brother. They hit him really hard in the head and he fell back, then they proceeded to stab him repeatedly while I stood there in shock and frozen. The group of guys then ran off and didn't even take his bag. I don't remember much after due to shock. I only remember some lady running towards us with a few officers. They put me in their car, and I could hear shouting, ambulance sirens, and voices of paramedics trying to save him. Okay, first things first, I'm so sorry for your loss. That is absolutely horrifying and terrible, and I can't imagine what you went through and are still going through. The only thing I can really say here is that just be very careful, guys, when you're going in places that are sketchy and different alleyways or sketchy parts of your town or city, because things like this can happen. And everyone thinks it's not going to be me, but sometimes it is you. And if you ever do find yourself in a situation where you're being robbed at gunpoint or knife point, or even if there's just a big group of guys surrounding you, just give them what they want. Because whatever you have on you is not worth your life. This one is titled, "Twins Got Expelled for Incest Because I Told on Them." Around last year, these twins joined my school. They were in a grade below me at the time, but I knew about them because one was in my friend's homeroom. There was a rumor that the reason they got put in different houses is because they would constantly make out with each other. I obviously didn't believe it at the time until November of last year. We had an inter-house competition where we do these challenges against the other houses. The day was normal all up until the end of school. Everyone was heading to their lockers, but I got held back because I was taking photos with my friends. We split ways and I headed to my locker, which was on the other side of the school. While passing the bathrooms, I decided to take a whiz because it would be a while before I got home. I got distracted and scrolled on my phone for a while. I suddenly heard the door open and I put my phone back in my pocket. I heard giggles coming from the direction of the sinks, so I decided to wait for them and leave before I wash up. That's when I started to smell the aroma of sex and began thinking the worst. Since I go to an all-girls school, I just thought it was somebody's pad not put away properly and hopefully nothing worse. I stood up and walked out of the stall to be met with a traumatizing scene. Not even kidding, I saw these two bent over the sink basins with their dresses pulled up. I ran out of the bathroom and immediately called my friends to tell them what had happened. Word spread around fast and the next week they were expelled from school. We had a whole assembly about it, and now looking back I find it hilarious. Man, I really don't have anything to say at this point. I'm assuming, you went to an all-girl school, so they're girl twins that are a little too into each other. Sounds like something out of a weird psychological horror movie that is probably going to become a plot. Oh, man, people, I just leave your siblings alone. There's billions of people you can choose from, okay? Billions. If you really want to, you can even try and find an identical copy of your sibling, looks-wise, personality-wise, and play around there. Just don't do it with your siblings. This one is titled, My Father Keeps Telling Me How Pretty I've Gotten. Oh, man. This all began when I started showing my first signs of puberty. At first, he'd just tell me how pretty I'd gotten and how my body had, quote, matured, end quote. He didn't say this too often, but it was still unsettling. After a while, it got worse. He'd walk around the house naked after showering while I was around. Then it got even weirder. He started slapping/grabbing my butt and grabbing/caressing my thighs. Keep in mind, I was 10 when this all started. A couple of years later, he admitted to me that he used to have a porn addiction, which honestly didn't surprise me. There are a few more incidents like this. One time I was sick because of food poisoning and my dad was watching me while I was sleeping. I woke up to him literally caressing me. I wish I was kidding. My mother also would sometimes do some unsettling things, but she stopped after a few months. At one point, my dad would do these things in public or in front of his friends, which I don't want to get into because it was kind of uncomfortable. It was the worst when I was 13, but after that, it kind of died down. Sometimes things like this still happen, but rarely. It's a few years later now and nothing has happened in a while, which I'm obviously glad about. The thing is, my father keeps giving me weird looks and keeps telling me how gorgeous I am. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but it's still very uncomfortable to say the least. I've grown hesitant to be close with my parents because of past incidents, and I'm also concerned that something worse might happen. But after all, I might be overthinking it. Thanks for reading, and advice is appreciated since I still live with them and legally cannot move out yet since I'm still under the age of 18. Okay, I'm really sorry that you're going through this. You're not overthinking this. This is really bad, okay? Your dad is a disgusting person. I'm not going to sugarcoat that part. And it doesn't sound like your mom is very helpful in this situation either. So my biggest concern here is your safety. I would love in the comments if there's anyone that has worked with counselors before or social services or anything of the sort. If you have that knowledge or know of people that have that knowledge, please leave it in the comments below. As far as what I can tell you, you need a support system here that unfortunately cannot come from your parents. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do here, but I will give you a few options. Number one, if you're really scared that something bad is going to happen, if you don't feel safe in your own home, if you think that there's a worst case scenario there, you might want to try talking to a school counselor, school psychologist, someone that can't tell your parents that you've said this to them legally, but what will happen there is that they're going to have to report that to Child Protective Services, and you might be placed in foster care, and that can also be dangerous for you, so you're kind of dealing with a bit of a double-edged sword there. Another option is for you to wait it out until you're 18, or for you to be emancipated. None of these options, though, are great. Perhaps you have other family members you can tell, or a grandparent, but even then, I don't know. I don't feel very trusting of the adults in your life right now, so I'm still leaning towards a school counselor of sorts. Again, in the comments below, there's probably someone that has a better idea, something that is better than this. I'm not qualified, nor do I have any expertise or experience in this. Just be very careful, and I wish you the best of luck. This one is titled, I found out my friend has been raping his sister. Let's call that friend Joe. He was 17 when I found out, and his sister was 16. I was also 16. Anyways, one day I overheard him talking with a group of friends at school in class. No one else was there, just them and me trying to fall asleep. Joe was saying that he had sex with his sister last night and uploaded it. I was shocked. I didn't believe it. So the next day I decided to ask one of his friends I was close with, and he started telling me that he has been doing this for 2 years. He records and uploads them to a site. He sent me the link and I saw that he has been uploading there a lot. Took a peek and backed out. He was saying that Joe threatens her into doing this by saying he will tell dad that she hangs out with other guys and gets money for sex, which is actually true. It's been 3 years, and I stopped talking to him and all of his friends almost a year ago because I found out they were talking behind my back. Also, I got a little curious and decided to check Joe's profile through that link again, and he still uploads there. I still see his dad at the supermarket very often and greet him. His dad has no idea about this. Joe's mother is divorced, by the way. I'm considering telling his dad about this, but I still haven't. What do you think? I wouldn't tell his dad. I would tell the police at this point. Joe is raping his sister and blackmailing her into making CP with him. Police, FBI, anything. What a horrible thing. Seriously, what a horrible, horrible thing. And the craziest part about this isn't that it's just Joe doing it. His friends are also just okay with this. Like, what is wrong with people? What is going on in this world, man? Sometimes the more I read these, the more I lose my faith in humanity, man. Forget the dad. Just call the cops at this point, man. This one is titled, The Time I Realized I Wasn't Brave Enough. I work at a cafe/bar as a barista. A few years ago, some of my usual customers came in with friends of theirs who are now my best friends. We were already close back then, especially me and the guy I'll call Paul. I gave them their usual drinks. Paul had a Coke, and his friend, I call him Leo, had a Weizen, a type of beer. It was around 5 p.m. after school on a Friday. Everything seemed normal. They were laughing, joking, having fun. I listened from afar while working. About an hour later, I looked up and saw Leo yelling about how being queer is wrong and how not being white hurts the white environment. Absolute bullshit, obviously. But he did this all the time when he got too drunk. At first, I thought it would blow over. It didn't. Leo started yelling at two girls from their class, both lesbians, and one of them was French. Paul tried to stop him when Leo suddenly rushed toward them, ready to beat them up. I knew that if I stepped in, he'd probably hit me too, even though I'm older than him. He managed to go outside and immediately started beating up the French girl because apparently she was worse. At first, his friends helped him. They held the other girl down and forced her to watch her girlfriend get beaten. It made me sick knowing I couldn't help. At least I thought Paul would stay out of it. I thought he wouldn't do something like that. I ran to the door and watched from there. And then he started hitting her too. All because Leo talked him into this shit. I'm still shocked that he did that. When they were done, they came back inside. Paul looked completely traumatized while the others cheered for Leo, ignoring how Paul felt. I took Paul to the back of the bar. He immediately broke down crying and apologizing over and over. I understood. Leo was an asshole back then. But the one thing I regret is not calling the damn police. I don't know why I didn't, but here I am knowing damn well I'm not brave enough for shit like this. This is rough because, like you said, if you went in and tried to help the girls, you probably would have also gotten beaten up with them. And I see what you're saying, I understand why you feel like you're not brave enough and whatnot. So if something similar happens again, remember this moment, remember this experience and how you don't want it to go down like that again. And maybe that'll help you call the police next time. This one is called I Cucked My Female Friend's Boyfriend. Oh my god. When I was 16, I was friends with this one girl who went to my school. She was kind of cute and we got along well, but I didn't really like her per se. But I did find her kind of attractive. So basically a year goes by with us being friends and she gets a boyfriend. He is slightly older at 17 and I have to admit he was kind of a weird incel. He had greasy hair and was slightly overweight, but not by too much of a margin. Anyways, he was kind of shy around everyone, so I didn't know him well. The girl tells me that she and him had sex a couple of times, but they were interested in some cuck stuff. I thought she was joking due to her making obvious jokes like this in the past and having this kind of sense of humor. However, the next day at school, right before winter break, the boyfriend approaches me and passes me a note. I was low-key scared to read it myself, maybe because I thought he was threatening me, so I have my homeboy read it for me. He opens it up and begins reading to himself, before audibly cursing and beginning to hysterically laugh. I grab the note from his hands and kind of freeze, because it was literally that girl's boyfriend asking if I could cuck him. He said he thinks it's hot that I'm taller and stronger than him, and wants to watch me his girl. I was kind of skeptical and still thought it was a joke. However, after school I get permission from my parents to stay later, so I would have to get home either by public bus or an Uber. However, as I'm about to order the Uber, the girl and her boyfriend walk up to me and say they were being serious. I promptly agree, mostly because I still think that they are joking. Her boyfriend drives us to her house and her parents and younger brother are not there. So basically we end up doing it and the entire time I'm kind of confused because I'm just going at it and she's holding her boyfriend's hand as it happens. The guy is just sitting there on the bed and looks kind of sad to be honest, so I almost felt bad for him. When I'm done, he agrees to give me a ride home. After that, I remained friends with both of them, and we never spoke about it again until her boyfriend graduated and I got a girlfriend. This is definitely one of the weirder things I've done. Look, I'm not here to kink shame. If you all had fun doing this and everyone was happy with it at the end of the day, cuck away, I suppose. Oh man, I'm actually losing my mind. This one is titled Kidnapped by a Drug Dealer. One time me and my friends saw that there was a fair going on at the mall right by her house, so we decided to walk to it. We didn't get ride tickets or anything, just thought it would be fun to walk around. Keep in mind this mall is pretty sketchy and almost dead, so we're walking around a bit and I point out a guy from our school. He's a junior and we're sophomores, but she doesn't recognize him. Later on, the guy from our school, let's call him Joey, and his two friends come up to us and ask for my friend's snap. She says yes for the plot even though he's short and low-key ugly. She thought it would be funny. Then we go our separate ways. Later he texts her and says, quote, "You guys want to go somewhere? I got my car," end quote. Immediately we said no because we know this kid is kind of sketchy, so we move on thinking nothing of it. But then my friend's phone died and she needed it since we walked there. So we find Joey and his friends and ask for a charger. He says he has one in the car, so we followed him to his car. When we get there, he gets in the driver's seat, one of his friends gets in the front, and the other stops before getting in the back. His friend tells us to turn around. My friend does because she's stupid, but I don't, and see him hide a bunch of stuff in a vest-looking thing and put it in the trunk, and then before he got in, he grabbed something out of the pocket on the back of the driver's seat and hides it under his leg. I saw that it was a knife. We should have left then. My friend gets in the car because she needs to charge her phone, and I stop before getting in because I get a really bad feeling, obviously. I tell her we really need to go, and at first she says no because she needs to charge her phone, but when she can tell I know something is wrong, she gets out of the car. While she's getting out, the same friend with the knife pulls up his shirt and looks me dead in the eye to reveal a gun in his waistband. We started running and thankfully we got away. Later we find out that Joey deals drugs and guns. He randomly left our school mid-year and turns out he was in juvie. That was a very scary moment. We could have gotten kidnapped, raped, or killed. Glad I decided to run. That is quite scary indeed, and all of those things could have happened to you. My only question here is, why would you go to his car to get a charger if you weren't willing to go hang out with him because he was sketchy in the first place? I understand your friend needed a charger, but it sounds like you already knew this guy was problematic to begin with. I guess what I'm trying to say is learn to trust your gut with things like that, because more often than not, your sixth sense is right. If you have a bad feeling about something, there's a very high chance that there's a good reason for it. In any case, I'm glad that you and your friend are safe. This one is just called My Drunk Friend. So last summer, I invited my friend to try my new sim racing that I got for my birthday. We played on it all the afternoon. We were alone, by the way. Then I asked him if he wanted to try a beer. We were 13, so we both drank one, and he asked me if he could take another one. To which I said yes. Then an hour later, I got to the toilet and come back, but he wasn't there anymore, and I heard screaming coming from the rooftop. So I got up there, and he was there singing and dancing weirdly, and then he threw up on the neighbor's balcony. We thankfully didn't get caught, but it was hilarious. You know, it's funny because you have no idea how alcohol is going to affect you the first time you have it, especially when you're 13. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, don't drink at 13. But if you are gonna do it, just be safe about it, okay? Don't be dumb. This one is titled Ruthlessly Rage Baiting This Jerk at My School. So there is this absolute jerk in my school. Let's call him Michael. He was in my 6th period class, and how you may think of this guy as a jerk is he makes fun of my autistic little brother by mocking him, spreads false information of me saying racist things to his friends, and of course they would believe him. I wish I could punch this guy so bad. So one day in 6th period, we had to do an assignment on the computer, and this dude tends to go in a good spot to hide his computer from the teacher. He does this because he likes to play games on websites. So I took advantage of this to rage bait him. I would keep telling him to, quote, get off the games, end quote, kind of loudly. Other people would sit close to him and say he was on games even though he was not. We would do this so much he was on the verge of tears. If I said something to him about being on games, he would smash his computer and start saying loudly to me, quote, I'm not on games, end quote. I did this to him every day. Some of my other friends joined in. I also like to make fun of him on how he takes 5-minute showers, to which he also crashes out. I hated Michael to the core. He was a real piece of shit. Thanks for reading, Nico. Honestly, man, good on you. I feel zero empathy for bullies, and I'm a firm believer that in this specific case, you fight fire with fire, okay? If someone's bullying you, bully them the fuck back. A lot of you might say he should have told the teacher and kill him with kindness. No, that doesn't work, okay? Kids are assholes. You have to think of it like a prison. The kids are the prisoners, and the teachers are the prison guards. Yeah, if a fight breaks out, a prison guard can come in and break up a fight, but the next day, same prison fight is gonna happen. It's the same way in school. Sure, you could tell the teacher that Michael is making fun of your autistic brother, and then the next day you're being made fun of by the whole school for being a crybaby to the teacher. So what do? You fight fire with fire. The same thing happened to me when I was being bullied by this one kid. Oh my God, it was such a prick. There was this one kid in my class that terrorized everyone from elementary school to middle school, the whole shebang. He terrorized everyone, including me and my friends. By middle school, I just had enough of it. One day, he was on his usual bullshit, trying to rage bait me and saying some shit to me, and then I said something to him back. He got really mad and tried to punch me. In trying to do so, he somehow missed, and at that point, I just saw red. I then picked up this kid, bashed him against the wall, and straight up told him if he did that again, I would kill him. And guess what happened? That kid came nowhere near me after that. So good on you for fighting fire with fire. This one is called Impregnated My 15-Year-Old Ex-Girlfriend. So when I was 13 years old, I met with these two people online. One of them was called Noah and the other person was called Lily. They were my two besties and helped me out through tough times. I met with them in September and they were awesome friends. For about 8 to 9 months, Noah was busy because of exams and stuff, so me and Lily spent quite a lot of time with each other. After quite a while of talking, spending time, playing games, finding out about each other, and helping each other out with IRL problems, we decided to take our friendship to the next level. We officially became a couple on the 14th of February, and since she lives in Canada and I live in Germany, we FaceTimed and didn't really meet up in real life. Around the end of May, we both had 2 weeks off of school, and her family decided to come to a vacation to Germany like they do every year. We met up and I brought her to my place. We absolutely loved each other at the time. Since the age of consent in Germany is 14 and we were both 14, we did the deed in my house's basement, so my family wouldn't know about it. After a couple of days of her family staying in Germany, they had to go.
By the way, our parents didn't know each other, and they did not know that any of this was happening. She had a phone, so her parents let her go and, quote, explore the city, end quote, on her own, without worrying too much because Germany is considered a safe country by most. Anyway, after a week, she and her fam had to go back to Canada. Now, we still had an awesome relationship for a year until she came back to Germany with her family. She basically did everything over that she did the previous year, and we met up and did the deed again. After she headed back to Canada, we had a nice relationship for a little bit longer, but then she ghosted me over the entirety of June, giving me brief responses like, I can't talk, or my parents confiscated my device for a week, that is why I couldn't respond to you. I was fine with this because we are 15. Of course our parents are going to take away our devices and be strict to us. After June though, she seemed like a completely different person towards me. Less hyped about seeing me after a month compared to our friend Noah, after she started treating me like total bullshit, so I decided to break up with her. I tried to talk it out with her about 9 times before breaking up. She never gave me a proper answer on why she was acting weird. After the breakup, she got all mad and she said, I was cheating on you anyways, you fat ass, which really offended me because when I was younger I was getting bullied for being a bit chunkier than the rest of my class. After a few weeks, I get friend requested by someone I don't know on Discord, and it turns out it was her. And she tells me that she's impregnated by me. Yeah, so I really don't know what to do. I would really appreciate the opinion from you, Niko, and your viewers maybe from the comment section if anyone has dealt with a problem like this. I don't know if I should ghost her and let her deal with it herself because she cheated on me, or if I should try and take care of the situation. She and I didn't know what to do about the child that has been in her for quite a while now, and she doesn't really want to take pills or stuff because in her book it's considered murder, which I do understand. I'm just pretty confused overall and would like your feedback. Well, I have one simple question for you. When you guys did the deed, were you wearing protection, yes or no? If the answer is yes, odds are you are not the father. As far as what you should do, you should tell your parents. Yeah, that you both should tell your respective parents about this. You need adults in this situation, okay? The bigger question is, when did she find out about this? And if she did cheat on you, you should definitely do a DNA test on that kid because, well, odds are it might not be yours at all. But yeah, you should both tell your parents, get them on a phone call with each other, and yeah, talk it out. Because this is one of those things I will not advise you on. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've had enough for today. There'll be a form in the description below for you to leave more of your insane confessions. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, good night and good luck, everybody.